kind of a festive evening tonight. The Orioles would love to knock the Toronto Blue Jays off. Dave Steve is pitching for Toronto, and the Orioles conclude their season tonight. And I haven't seen a happier bunch of guys in a long time. And here's Dave Johnson, the guy that really stymied the Blue Jays until Fred Mcgriff hit the home run in the 9th inning last night. Just a matter of him hitting a good pitch?
Actually hit a bad pitch. Until I went home last night and saw the replay a couple times, I thought it was a better pitch than it was. But after seeing the replay, it was probably the only changeup that I threw that didn't really go down and away from the left-handers. All night I used it very, very effectively. I used it on him very effectively twice before that last at-bat. Even during that at-bat, I threw him 2 of them that were pretty nasty that he didn't have any chance on, and I figured with 2 strikes, it's a good time to throw another one. If that pitch is working, it just didn't go in the same spot, and he was able to hit it out.
When the pitch was made contact with, did you think it was going to go out of the ballpark?
I didn't. I thought he hit it too high. You know, he hit the ball real high, and I thought he got under it enough that he had just missed the pitch. But big, strong fella, you know, 35 home runs this year, and he got enough of it to go out.
Your pitching pace last night seemed like it was faster than at any time during the season. You wasted no time between pitches, took the ball back, and practically were ready to throw the next pitch. Did you think that helped your effort?
It may have helped for the simple fact that the fielders were, you know, really ready behind you. There's no time for them to fall asleep out there. They're always ready to go. They know that the guys make contact off of me. They know I throw strikes, so they're ready on every time I get ready to pitch the ball. They know that, hey, it could be coming their way. So that helps them playing good defense behind you. And I was just real confident last night. I felt like I had good stuff. I had command of all my pitches. And I just went after them. I said, here it is, hit it. And they did many a time. Luckily, it was at some people. And unfortunately, we weren't able to score enough runs to win the ball game.
Size up your season minus the bad back.
I think it was a great season. I mean, to sit here and I won 13 games, and with a little bit of luck, I could actually won 15 or 16. And then if I didn't hurt my back, I had a possibility of 17, 18 wins maybe. And I never dreamed that I'd be in the position to do that. I thought I could pitch up here, but I didn't really know. You know, even after last year, 2 months doesn't say whether you can pitch or whether you can't pitch in the big leagues. But I think sitting here right now in this chair, I think I've proved not only to myself but to everybody in baseball, I can pitch up here. I'm going to give up some home runs because they make contact off of me because I go right after them. But if I walk 2 guys a game and give up 10 or 15 more hits than innings pitched through the course of 200 innings, I'm going to win my share of ball games.
Well, he's won his share. The leading winner on the Orioles staff with 13 victories, Dave Johnson. Our thanks to him. He's going to get a gift certificate to the Pimlico restaurant, world famous since 1951. Whether it's dinner from their award-winning menu and after the game snack or a drink at the bar, remember, it's the Pimlico in the Commerce Center, Reisterstown Road, and the Beltway. Let's check in now with Bob Turk and find out what the weather forecast is for tonight's game. It's rather pleasant here at the ballpark right now. I wonder if it's going to get a little bit colder tonight? Well, Bob Turk has the answer right here on Home Team Sports.
Tom, and it looks like weather once again perfect for baseball, the last game we've got this year. And first I want to say thank you to everybody at HTS. It's been a great year, and we'll do it all again next year. Let's take a look at the forecast. Looks like this. Clear skies overnight in Baltimore. Winds out of the south from 8 to 15, so a nice breeze out there. Temps between 63 and 70 degrees. All a pretty nice way to say goodbye to baseball once again this year. Let's take a look at the temperatures around the region. A few stations were missing late this afternoon. They're still there, but they didn't report for some reason. Most areas were in the 70s, even some 80s down to our south in the Carolinas. And it looks like that trend will be continuing the next few days. However, in between tomorrow, all across our region, look for showers and some thunder showers, especially to our north where there'll be some steadier rain. Further south in the Carolinas, there'll be some showery, thunder showery type weather. That's the best chance for the thunder showers, more steady rain to the north. Let's take a look at the way things are shaping up around the United States. Late this afternoon and this evening, clear skies along the East Coast, but look what's coming in from the west. You can clearly see it. A lot of moisture coming in from the Pacific, from the Gulf of Mexico, and that moisture is fanning out into some showers and thunderstorms, particularly over portions of Illinois and portions of eastern Iowa, down through Missouri and Arkansas and eastern sections of Texas. Along the frontal boundary, moving in our direction. So look for the clouds to be on the increase later tonight and tomorrow. Mainly cloudy skies across the region, and the threat of showers developing in the afternoon and through tomorrow night. And then the front goes through, and behind this front, believe it or not, is beautiful weather. This area of high pressure is not coming from the cool areas of Canada. It's coming from the Pacific Ocean. It's moderating as it moves across the country. So by the time this gets here on Friday, things will be warmer than they were actually in front of this frontal system. High pressure now off the coast. Nice southerly breeze. Pardon me. Must be that southerly breeze. With showers and thunderstorms along the central part of the United States. And another weak system up to the way up to our northwest. Won't do anything to our weather probably until next week. Temperatures overnight tonight, a little warmer than they've been. Some 60s out to the west, lots of 50s, so temperatures have gone up about 10 degrees over last night's readings. We had some low to mid 40s this morning across our region, even some upper 30s. There's the cold stuff. Up in Canada, the western plains and the Rockies now down to freezing or below, and that's where the wintry weather is going to stay the next few days. They had some snow in Idaho yesterday. Take a look at the conditions for tomorrow. The high still off the Atlantic coast. The frontal system approaching us from the west with the clouds and the showers. The steadier rains of the north. A little bit of snow up in western portions of northwestern Ontario. The cool weather stays up in Canada for at least the next 5 days, and we're dominated by rather nice, warm weather conditions. Temperatures around the United States tomorrow, 70s and 80s from about Baltimore, Washington southward. The cool stuff staying in Canada may get here, but not until the middle of next week, the way things look right now. Take a look at the forecast. Clear skies, winds out of the south, 8 to 15 miles an hour. Temps between 63 and 70 degrees. We thank you very much for watching our forecasts. We appreciate the letters you sent us, and we'll do it all again next spring. Tom, take care.
Tonight here at the ballpark, the final game of the 1990 season as the Orioles take on the Toronto Blue Jays. Ben Mcdonald pitching for the Birds and Dave Steve going for the Toronto Blue Jays. And now time to turn things over to a man that won a lot of games here. I think 138. Scott McGregor, why'd you come out to the last game this season?
Well, I had to bring Michael out. He'd only been out here once this year earlier when we got in that Hall of Fame. And then the last game of the year, I wanted to come out and see the guys, say goodbye to them all. Pretty weather, so I figured I better get out and say hi.
Speaking of the Hall of Fame, the Orioles Hall of Fame, what did it mean to you making it?
It was great. It was a great thrill. I mean, it was a great topping to I thought it was a fun career here, and it was a big honor, and to be enshrined with those guys, it was great.
You ever feel like you could still be pitching?
Well, I could still throw it up there. I don't know how effective it would work, but I still get to throw a lot, so I'm still coaching the team over at the church, and I'm going to start doing my exercises soon so I can throw batting practice.
I know you're very active in the church out there at the Rock Church. Explain your life after baseball.
It's been great. You know, I was just telling Ballard, some of the guys there, they said, well, you miss it? And I said, no, I don't, but it's been real busy with the kids and working and counseling with teenagers and trying to help them to get on the right path, and I think they need it so much today. So I'm spending all my time over there at the church with the teenagers. It's more challenging than that baseball ever was.
Was there a point when you sort of said to yourself, you wanted to help people?
Yeah, I think so. I think I've always been that way somewhat. I always enjoyed working with kids. I always had that teacher's mentality, I think. So it just was a natural thing for me to go into.
When you look back at your career with the Orioles, how about your biggest moment?
Well, the biggest moment, I guess, would have to be '83, winning the World Series in Philadelphia and pitching the last game, a shutout. And last night we had all the 11th and 12th graders at my house, and they wanted to watch a film, so they put the last game of the '79 series on. I said, you guys, we're going to lose this one. But it was a great thrill to win a world championship and play with the team that we had with Eddie and Cal, and it was a lot of fun.
I know you watch the games a lot on Home Team Sports when you're not here. How far do you think this club's away from maybe going back to another World Series?
Well, I mean, they gelled last year, and I think it probably showed them that they got the stuff there that they needed. But I think this year they just weren't quite as consistent. Obviously, the pitching wasn't as consistent. Jeff went from 19 games to 2, and Malachi was their horse, and they struggled. So they went through some of those sophomore things. I think next year, obviously they could, probably need another hitter, so you can always use an extra hitter. But the pitching's good. They get young pitching. The key is for them to gel at the start. Last year they gelled at the start, and this year they didn't.
Is there a point maybe when you started your big league career that you know that you really belong?
Yeah, I always felt I belonged right out of high school. That's just the way I was. When I signed with the Yankees, I cried when they cut me every year. But once well, the thing that was good is in 1976, Dower and Flanagan, all of us were together in AAA, and we all came up together. And I see that's a big sign for these guys this year. Their AAA team, Rochester, did real well. And when we all came up here together in '76 and got up here and got your feet on the ground, I said I can pitch here. And I knew then, right from the start, that I'd be able to make it.
George Brett has won the batting title in the American League for the third time in 3 different decades now. And I hear you were a better hitter than George Brett when you played out there at El Segundo.
Well, that was a long time ago. I think George has outdone me. I'm going to try and send him a telegram tomorrow and congratulate him. That's a great feat for him. And I saw him earlier this year, and he looked like an old warrior, man. He looked like he was all beat up. Looked like he was at the end of things, and he turned it right around, boy, and he's had a great second half. So I'm proud of him, and we've had some good times together.
One of the real nice guys ever to wear an Orioles uniform, lives here in Baltimore, helps many people. Scott McGregor had a great career in the Orioles uniform, thanks to him. And we'll be back with the Frank Robinson report when we continue here on Home Team Sports in just a moment. Look at tonight's Orioles-Toronto Blue Jays game with manager Frank Robinson. It's presented by Bell Atlantic. Bell Atlantic, we're more than just talking for the final time this season with Frank Robinson. How do you feel about the season?
Well, it's been fun working with you, Tom.
I didn't mean me.
Well, no, a lot of people say it was a disappointing season. I don't think the season was a disappointment. I think, the one-loss record was a little disappointing to all of us. We would have liked to have won more ball games, and we thought we could, but it just didn't work out that way. There was a lot of good things that happened this year on this baseball field. There was a lot of good baseball played out here, and there's a lot of positive things that happened. And I'm looking forward to the off-season. I'm looking forward to the spring training, and looking very much so looking forward to the 1991 season.
Now you're back, and the entire coaching staff is back for next year. It looks like that's a nice reward for your entire coaching staff.
Well, it is, and I appreciate the confidence that the front office and this organization has shown in me. And, if I was going to come back, naturally, I wanted my staff to come back because this is one of the best staffs in baseball. They're great baseball people. They get along with the young people very well. They have a lot of baseball knowledge, and they're hard workers. And we get along very well together. And there's no doubt in that. But I am just very happy that the organization saw fit to ask me to come back.
Frank, there was one thing I think the club wanted to try to establish, just generally speaking, with the media, and maybe even with the fans, that they didn't want this team to quit. And I don't think it came anywhere close to even thinking about quitting. Comparing like back to '86 when they finished 14-42, there was that atmosphere at one point that maybe they thought that the fans thought that.
Well, I think it was a legitimate, outlook for the front office. They just didn't want it to happen, and they wasn't expressing their thoughts on it. And I told them at the time that this ball club hadn't quit and it wasn't going to quit. And as a matter of fact, our staff and we weren't going to let them quit. But I didn't think we had the type of players. We was in a little slump at the time. We weren't playing good baseball. But I'm very proud of the way this ball club finished up. And I had nothing to do with me. I didn't get on them to get under their skin or anything like that. I have to kick them on the backside, anything like that, to get them to play. They just came together and played hard out of pride and wanting to finish out the season on a positive note, and I'm very proud of that.
You got Ben Mcdonald going in what turns out to be a very, very important game for the Toronto Blue Jays tonight. How do you feel about, just getting down to this last game and knowing that Toronto's still got a shot for the division title?
Well, I feel good about it. This is the best scenario in the season. If you can't be in it yourself, you want to have something to say about who is. And to finish out the season, you want the games to mean something. And this is a perfect situation. These games mean something. Toronto is very much is going to be out here trying to win this ball game, and we're going to be trying to win this ball game. And that's what it's all about. We played a good ball game last night, the night before, and we split the two ball games. Toronto did what they had to do last night, and I take my hat off to them. But they're going to have a battle on their hands again tonight.
Size of Dave Johnson's effort last night.
Oh, it was just an outstanding effort on his part. One of the best ball games he pitched all year, if not the best, because it was a good, crisp, quick ball game. Both pitchers were ahead of the hitters, finished the hitters off, gave nothing up out there, and it was just a wow. It went so fast I couldn't believe that the game was over. And Bud Black did an outstanding job. Again, I take my hat off to him. I take my hat off to Fred Mcgriff for the home run in the ninth inning. He did what he had to do to help his ball club win that ball game. And it's just a shame that one of those pitchers had to lose because they both pitched outstanding baseball.
I think you made a good point about not only a quick game, but a crisp game. Dave Johnson didn't waste any time on the mound in between pitches. How much of that is a key to a pitcher's success?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with his stuff. That's not how quick you pitch, but it has a lot to do with his stuff. And he had a lot of confidence in his stuff last night. So he wanted the ball back, got on the mound, threw the ball over the plate, got hitters out. But I think what that helps, Tom, is the defense behind you. They are eager, they're on their toes, they're alert, and they play good defensive baseball behind them because they are right on their toes and they're alert, and they react very quickly to balls that are hit. The defenses love to play behind pitchers like last night, Black and David Johnson, because, like I say, they keep it on they're still on their toes, and the ball is put in play.
Well, we've enjoyed it a lot. We hope to see you in spring training next year, and good luck to Frank Robinson and the Orioles for 1991.
Well, thank you guys, Tom. HCS, it was just really nice working with you guys, and I enjoyed it, and hope to do it again next year.
All right, our thanks to Frank Robinson. The Frank Robinson Report has been brought to you by Bell Atlantic. Bell Atlantic, we're more than just talk. With your favorite NFL merchandise, including authentic team parkas from Starter, Showcase and the Complete Athlete also have received the season's first shipments of NFL and NBA merchandise. So make Showcase and the Complete Athlete part of your game plan for sports team apparel, because at Showcase and the Complete Athlete, we sell excitement. Turning here to the ballpark, Tom Davis with you before Ben Mcdonald faces Dave Steve moments before the final game of the season. And joining me now is Marty Conway, the Vice President of Marketing with the Orioles. Of course, yesterday in the paper, a lot of stories breaking around town here about former President Nixon, who was the Vice President back in 1954, might be coming to Baltimore to throw out the first ball in the last year of the stadium. How true or close to it is happening?
It was not true at all, and largely unfounded. It was more had to do with us talking about the recreation of opening day in 1954 here in 1991, and one of the aspects that was brought to our attention was that former President Nixon did throw out the first pitch. You know, we never meant to say that we were intending to invite him. We make reference to the fact that we're playing the White Sox, which we did in 54. We will be in 91. We talked about possibly wearing the uniforms that we wore in 1954 on the field as well. So it was really a headline that didn't really merit a headline, and unfortunately it spilled over into a couple of national publications. But really what we were talking about was our whole rundown of activities for next year, and the kickoff obviously is opening day, and we want to make that as big as possible.
So the idea of former President Nixon coming here is gone?
Oh yeah. It's we don't put it this way. We don't plan to extend any invitations for first pitch for next year at all until that's one of the last things that we do. We get all the details done for opening day. We come up with a theme, and then we carry it out. And then at that point, we determine what's going on in world activities and things like that, and local activities. And at that point, then we talk about opening day, first pitch, as well as the entire season. And we have a lot of things next year other than opening day. We have a lot of special occasions that we'll look to commemorate, so it'll be more than just opening day.
What are some of those thoughts coming up for, to commemorate during the 1991 season?
Well, we would like to, as close as we can, commemorate those activities that occurred. For instance, if we're playing next year home on June the 8th, we would like to know, and we will research this winter, what significant Oriole memories occurred on June the 8th that we could recreate. For instance, we know, I believe it's September the 13th next year when Frank Robinson hit his 500th home run. Well, we happen to play home that night, so that's a logical extension to do some kind of activities, possibly put the Orioles in the 71 uniform since it is the 20th anniversary of that. So those kind of extensions seem logical, and we think we can do those throughout the season and really make for a unique experience for the fans next year.
Yeah, you told me a couple of days ago that you managed to go out to Comiskey Park for the final game over the weekend. What was your purpose for really trying to see what was going on there for the last game?
To get the best handle that we could on what a grand finale is like. Unfortunately, other than attending Comiskey Park in person, the only thing that we would have to go by is record books and other people's recollections. For instance, in St. Louis, when the Cardinals moved or into Busch Stadium, or some of the other ballparks that have been turned down in the last 20, 30 years. So it was a good opportunity to see what kind of, from a security standpoint, what has to be done, what kind of commemorative moments you can do, and just what the general feeling was in the ballpark that day. And it's a very emotional moment, and we have to be prepared to address the fans and give them the kind of emotional response that they're looking for.
How about the new ballpark? How far along is it, and are they ahead of schedule building it?
Yeah, as I understand, we had a little ceremony down there, a little luncheon ceremony about a week ago, and actually the steel is being erected up there now. So I think over the next 6 or 8 or 12 weeks, people that come into Baltimore, into the harbor, are going to see this structure rise rather quickly. So it's a pretty exciting time if people have an opportunity to get down there and see it. And we hope that by November, December, things will really start to look like a stadium. If you walked out there now, you could actually see where home plate is, and that's kind of exciting.
Marty, one final question about the parking in downtown Baltimore. Is there going to be much parking right close to the ballpark?
Well, there will be at least 5,000 spaces on a lot that is adjacent to the ballpark. So that is more than we have here by almost 1,000 spaces. So there will be more parking on the site itself. And then in the immediate area, within, say, half a mile, there'll be upwards of 18,000 spaces available. The challenge for the Orioles and for the state will be to try and educate fans as to where those spaces are. So I think you'll see us do a rather elaborate combination publicity campaign along with the state stadium authority in educating people from Washington and some of the other outlying areas just exactly where the parking is, where the shuttle services are, and things like that. So it will be an improved situation, but it is going to take some education, and we recognize that and we'll be prepared.
This man's got his work cut out for him next season, especially next year as the Orioles get ready to conclude play here in Baltimore in 1991 at Memorial Stadium and head down to the yet unnamed new ballpark. We'll be back with some final comments when we continue here on Home Team Sports in just a moment. Home Team Sports, Tom Davis with you. Just want to mention one thing. When Ben Mcdonald walked down to warm up, first time I've ever seen it, and I've been around this ballpark for almost 20 years covering this team, a group of fans down the left field line got up and applauded Ben Mcdonald as he went down to the bullpen to take his warm-up pitches. Very impressive. And when you consider Mcdonald's going after his 9th win tonight, double that figure, the Orioles would be right in this pennant race had it not been for maybe Mcdonald's inability to go during the first half of the season because of injuries and then a trip to the minors. Consider him an 18-20 game winner, and the Orioles are right there with Boston and Toronto. So the future is bright with this ball club. It's going to be interesting to see what transpires during the offseason and how the Orioles build for 1991. I want to thank Chris Glass, our producer, Bill Brown, our producer-director, and Sheldon Shemerin, all the people with Home Team Sports. Nice job working on this Orioles Report show. It's time now for Orioles baseball. Mel Proctor and John Lowenstein standing by with the play-by-play. It's coming up next here on Home Team Sports, the channel you cheer for. Fans at Memorial Stadium witnessed a classic pitching duel in the heat of a pennant race. Bud Black, a late-season acquisition by the Toronto Blue Jays, was masterful, allowing the Orioles just 1 run on 3 hits through 8 innings. Black's counterpart, Baltimorean Dave Johnson, matched him pitch for pitch, allowing just 1 run on 6 hits entering the 9th inning. Then Dave Johnson had to face Fred Mcgriff.
Mcgriff hammers it high in the air to deep right center. Back goes Finley to the wall. A 2-1 Toronto victory, and coupled with Boston's 3-2 extra inning loss to Chicago, the battle for first place comes down to the final day. But the Blue Jays must get past the Orioles rookie sensation Ben Mcdonald before they can think about a 1-game playoff tomorrow. Stay tuned. Tonight, live from Memorial Stadium, it's the Orioles and the Toronto Blue Jays. Tonight's coverage of Orioles baseball is brought to you by Subaru. We build our reputation by building a better car. By Miller Lite. When it's Miller Lite, less filling tastes great. By Bell Atlantic. We're more than just talk. By Hardee's. All kinds of good stuff. And by Texaco System 3 gasoline. After 5 tanks, it gets even better. We have come down to the final regular season game of the 1990
1990 season, and the American League East is still up for grabs. The Boston Red Sox lead the Toronto Blue Jays by 1 game with 1 game left. And hello, everybody. I'm Mel Proctor along with John Lowenstein. The Blue Jays must win tonight. They hope the Red Sox will lose. Boston has to lose. If that occurs, the teams will wind up in a tie that would necessitate a 1-game playoff tomorrow at the Sky Dome in Toronto. We've been talking all week long, John, that we hoped a Ben McDonald, Dave Steve matchup might have some significance. We got our wish.
It's a classic matchup. This could be a classic game here tonight. I don't think you could have asked for a better matchup than the one we've got tonight. You don't expect a lot of scoring this evening with those 2 guys on the mound, but it's something that the Blue Jays absolutely must do. They've got one of the best offensive teams in baseball, and tonight they're going to have to prove it. They have to win the game, as you suggested, and they have to hope for a White Sox win up in Boston. If that can occur, all heck's going to break loose tomorrow afternoon.
We've had the pleasure of watching Ben McDonald grow and develop as a pitcher this year, and I think both of us have sensed that he is a big game pitcher.
He looks forward to these matchups. As a matter of fact, he sensed that this was going to occur a couple of weeks ago. And you get these matchups formulated by the coaching staff well in advance, and he could see this one coming. And he gets pumped for these things. And he's very much into all his games anyway. And you know the adrenaline's got to be flowing tonight on Ben McDonald's side, but it's also got to be flowing as far as Dave Steve's concerned.
Dave Steve's been a great pitcher. He's won 18 games, a career high. He's the all-time winner in the Toronto Blue Jay history.
You know, opponents are hitting .230 off of Dave Steve on the year. Opponents are hitting 198, 199 off of Ben McDonald. You don't expect too many base runners tonight, but I've got the impression that Ben McDonald might be the kind of pitcher that you're going to get a classic performance out of tonight. We don't really know about Dave Steve. He's had 4 chances to win number 19. They've had many chances to get into the playoffs in the last several years and to even get in the World Series and win the World Series, but that hasn't occurred. We don't know what kind of primetime players this ball club has, and we won't find out until this series is complete.
So it'll be the rookie Ben McDonald against the veteran Dave Steve, the Orioles against the Blue Jays in the final game of Memorial Stadium this year. Let's take a look at the starting lineups. For the Toronto Blue Jays, leading off and playing center field is Mookie Wilson. Tony Fernandez, the shortstop, will bat second. Kelly Gruber is at third base, hitting third. Fred Mcgriff, who had a game-winning home run last night, is at first base. George Bell in left field batting fifth. John Olerud is a designated hitter. Pat Borders will do the catching. Luis Sojo is at second base batting eighth, and Junior Felix will play right field in bat ninth. And pitching for Toronto tonight, the 33-year-old right-hander Dave Steve.
Well, what it's come down to, Mel, is the best matchup of this series, as we mentioned, maybe of the season, especially with so much at stake for one of the combatants. Dave Steve is one of the best right-handers in the business. If he can wrap this one up for the Blue Jays, they'll be one step closer to forcing that 1-game playoff in their own backyard. But he's a fierce, hard-throwing competitor who'll knock you on your can at the plate if that's what it takes to win.
Ben McDonald making his way in from the bullpen along with pitching coach Al Jackson, and he is getting a near standing ovation. The Orioles are not in the pennant race, but they'll have something to say about it, and Ben McDonald will be on the hill tonight. For the Orioles tonight, leading off and playing right field is Steve Finley. Brady Anderson will bat second. He's in left field. Cal Ripken at shortstop, hitting third. Sam Horn is the designated hitter. Mickey Tettleton batting fifth and catching. Mike Devereaux is in center field. Jeff McKnight will play first base. Craig Worthington batting eighth. He's at third base. And Bill Ripken hitting ninth and playing second base. And Big Ben on the mound tonight for the Orioles.
Well, as we mentioned, Mel, it's easy to figure on a low-scoring game with the 2 we have on the mound tonight. Neither is going to be inviting the other over for chocolate fondue. McDonald has made no secret of his desire to beat Toronto. He's exhibited a knack of rising to the occasion against top pitchers in the league. In addition, the Blue Jays and Dave Steve are not catching him at a good time. He's pitched 9 innings in 3 of his last 4 starts, and his opponents are hitting a less than sizzling 199 against him.
And Ben McDonald is red hot. He is not allowed to run in his last 16 innings. And the umpires tonight, Rich Garcia will call the balls and strikes. Ted Hendry is at first base. Steve Palermo at second. And Mike Riley at third. A beautiful fall evening here at Memorial Stadium. Cool and crisp. Not much wind as the Orioles and Blue Jays close out the regular season. Defensively for the Orioles tonight, Mickey Tettleton is behind the plate. David Segui still ailing with a bad back, so Jeff McKnight is again at first base. Bill Ripken capping off a fantastic year at second base. Cal Ripken could set 2 Major League fielding marks tonight. We'll tell you more about that later. Craig Worthington is at third base. The getters in the outfield. Brady Anderson in left. Mike Devereaux is the center fielder. And Steve Finley is in right. He's played some spectacular defense in this series. And pitching tonight for the Orioles is the young right-hander Ben Mcdonald, who pitched a 4-hit shutout against Cleveland in his last start.
Well, he's not going to be out there hula hooping tonight, that's for sure. He can flat out shut down a good batting attack, and the Jays are a club that throws everything at you from the plate. But Big Ben's not coming to the final encounter with some chubby Dagwood sandwich and a big jug of sangria out there. No siree, he'll be out there tonight throwing his best and his heart out against this Blue Jays ball club. And if it comes down to him and Dave Steve, some people are going to take Big Ben.
Ben Mcdonald is 2-0 lifetime against the Blue Jays. Dave Steve is 1-5 lifetime here at Memorial Stadium. So those are your matchups for tonight. And again, if the Blue Jays and Red Sox wind up tied, there'll be a one-game playoff tomorrow afternoon in Toronto. Ironically, former Oriole Mike Bodeker's pitching for the Red Sox tonight.
I'm sure that Joe Morgan of the Red Sox wanted to save Bodeker for the first game of those playoffs had his team gotten in, but you don't have that luxury now. And if it occurs tomorrow afternoon, you can expect to see Clemens on the mound for them also, I'm sure.
John McLaren coaching at third base for Toronto. And Mike Squires is the first base coach. The Red Sox are 87 and 74 beginning play tonight. The Blue Jays have won 86 and lost 75.
It's going to be power against power this evening. This one could be a classic with the matchups involved and really the potential prize that awaits Toronto if they get real lucky.
Ben Mcdonald is 2-0 lifetime against the Blue Jays. He's made one start, one relief appearance against them. He earned his first major league win on the final day of last year, pitching one scoreless inning in Toronto to pick up a victory. Then he beat the Blue Jays again here July 31st, 6-4. The switch-hitting Mookie Wilson will lead off for the Blue Jays. Mookie, who is 2 for 9 in the series, batting .264. The Orioles play him straight away and not too deep. He doesn't have a lot of power. He's a hacker, a slasher, very aggressive hitter. Ball 1 to Mookie.
He's very much into what's happening right here, and he's a good guy to have on your ball club because he's been here before.
He hits it foul down the left field line. It's 1-1 to Mookie Wilson. The opposition is hitting just .198 against Ben Mcdonald this year. Only one other pitcher in the majors has thrown as many innings and been tougher to hit. His name is Nolan Ryan. Opponents have hit .188 against Ryan. Fastball is high. Count is 3-1 to Mookie Wilson. It's important to keep him off the bases. He's the catalyst. He can make things happen if he gets on. He has the ability to steal bases. He can go from first to third on a base hit. We even saw him score from first base on a base hit earlier in the series. He can really run. Hit to left field. Brady Anderson battling the lights to make the catch. 1 out. Brady had trouble with that ball.
It happens every time when the ball is hit on a line, especially out to left field. That's one of the few fields in all these American League ballparks where you get a lot of trouble.
In Ben Mcdonald's first start here at Memorial Stadium, July 21st, he threw a 4-hit complete game, 2-0 win over the White Sox. Went on to win 5 consecutive starts before losing. Switch-hitting Tony Fernandez steps in, and he takes a strike. Fernandez has just 1 hit in the series, but he's hit safely in 11 of his last 12 games and 19 of his last 22. And McDonald's quickly ahead in the count, 0-2. Fernandez, left-handed, is more of a low ball hitter. Right-handed, he's more of a high ball hitter.
Yeah, I think if you can keep the first 2 guys off the base for the most part during a big game like this, you got a good chance of winning.
Sharp breaking ball is low. He really snapped that one off, and it's 1-2.
With the power that they have up and down this lineup with Gruber on deck here, you're really begging for trouble if they get too many people on early.
Fastball high and away, and the count is 2-2 to Tony Fernandez. His batting average has slipped in recent years. He hit .310 in 1986, .322 in '87, then dropped off to .287, .257 last year, and hitting .275 this season. He hits it foul down the left field line. But in a lot of ways, Fernandez is the heart and soul of this club. He's a leader, an important player in the clubhouse, great shortstop. Played with a lot of injuries over the years. Got it. Then Mcdonald punches out Tony Fernandez for out number 2.
Well, he's moved into town from the suburbs the way he's thrown this year, and he'll be more than matched for this ball club. They're catching him at the wrong time because he's been hot. And it's hard to catch up with that mid-90s gas.
Got to turn up the dial to catch up with that heat.
No kidding.
Well, Mcdonald has retired the first 2 Blue Jays, and here's Kelly Gruber having a career year with 31 homers and 118 runs batted in. He takes a strike. The 118 RBIs is second highest in Blue Jay history. George Bell drove in 134 runs one year. Just off the plate, and it's 1-1 to Gruber.
Boy, as hard as he's throwing tonight, Mel, you got to start throwing your body into the pitch well before the ball gets there. You know, keep your hands back, but that body's got to get started.
Breaking ball got away from him, and it's 2-1.
Otherwise, you're going to hit everything foul or to the right side or to the opposite field.
Although Ben has great stuff, he's already learned what it normally takes a pitcher several years to learn. That is, you don't have to strike everybody out. He struck out only 4 Indians in his shutout against the Tribe in Cleveland. Fastball hit in the air to left field and deep. Back goes Brady Anderson onto the warning track to make the catch. Well, the Blue Jays go in order at the end of a half inning. It's Toronto 0 and the Orioles coming up.
Jeff, a Canadian, grew up in Montreal following the Canadians, and he couldn't be happier that he's doing the Caps games right here on Home Team Sports. He's teamed with Craig Laughlin, the former Cap, who, like John Lowenstein, is humorous to the point and can convey a big message about hockey. And you team those two with Al Koken, who has been with the Caps coverage ever since we started here at Home Team Sports, and you can't find a better team than Rimmer, Koken, and Laughlin.
Welcome back to Memorial Stadium, and here's the way the Blue Jays will line up tonight. Behind the plate is young Pat Borders. Fred Mcgriff, who had the game winner last night, is at first base. Manny Lee has tendonitis in his shoulder, so Luis Sojo is taken over at second base. Tony Fernandez is the shortstop. And Kelly Gruber at third base. In the outfield for Toronto, George Bell is in left. Mookie Wilson is the center fielder. And Junior Felix is in right field. Dave Steve, who is 18-6, will make his 4th attempt to win number 19 tonight. He's the first Blue Jay pitcher to win 18 in a season. He had won 17 games 3 times previously in 1982, 83, and 89. But he struggled a bit lately.
Yeah, well, that he has. But if he's at his best, Mel, no one's going to stop him. You know, he's hit his stride this season. And you mentioned him struggling lately. He's still 2-1 with a 2.5 earned run average over his last 6 starts. But, you know, none more important than this game tonight. You know, that wide sweeping slider of his finds its mark early on, then the Birds are going to have a difficult time of it.
The Orioles have hammered Steve at a 313 clip this year. They beat him in Toronto. The last time we faced him, they beat him 5-3. In 5 2/3 innings, he gave up 5 earned runs and 10 hits.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you can expect from Dave tonight when he's done so poorly against this ball club. But when you're averaging near 7 earned runs a game against the team you're pitching against tonight, it doesn't look good.
The Bird Brains are back to cheer the Orioles on.
position.
The White Sox failed to score in the top of the first at Fenway. The Red Sox are now coming up. Steve Finley will lead off against Dave Stieb. Finley, who has 1 for 7 in the series. Steve has never had much success against the Orioles. He is 6-10 lifetime against them, and is 1-5 here at Memorial Stadium. Strike 1 to Finley, who started the last 31 games and hit at a .270 clip over that stretch. One, has he played super defense? Wow.
Well, he's caught everything.
Spectacular catches.
Everything he's touched the last several weeks he's caught.
1 ball, 1 strike. The only ball he didn't catch was Mcgriff's home run last night, and he climbed up on the fence, reached into the bullpen trying to make the grab.
Yeah, it wasn't for lack of trying.
Slider is fouled back. Steve is a fast worker. He doesn't throw quite as hard as he used to. He used to run it up there 91, 92 miles per hour. Now he's consistently in the upper 80s. Has a real good slider, curveball, and a changeup. Gradually making the transition from a power pitcher to a finesse pitcher. Hammered foul into the photographer's bay behind the Orioles dugout.
You got a good glimpse of how that fastball moves. You know, it's not straight. He might not throw it as hard as he once did, but it's got something on it. It tails a little bit.
His numbers are excellent. In 201 and 2/3 innings, he's allowed only 173 hits and just 11 home runs. A breaking ball looked like a pretty good pitch, but called a ball, and it's 1-2.
Yeah, they got a different look if the catcher Borders would have caught that ball. And that's what Garcia said. I didn't get a good look at it. I couldn't tell. If that breaking ball or that slider is working tonight, could be lights out. It's the one pitch he needs.
There it is, and he strikes out Finley.
Oh, that's nasty. One of the best in baseball.
Quick, sharp breaking slider.
You can't really detect it until it's just practically upon you. And by then it's too late unless you've got that bat in the same zone as the ball.
That'll bring up the left fielder, Brady Anderson, who's hitting .235. Brady has never had a hit off Dave Stieb. Fastball is taken low.
I think a shutout might be necessary to win this game tonight by either pitcher.
Called strike, and it's 1 ball, 1 strike. In his last start, Friday in Boston, Steve had a no decision. The game won by the Red Sox 7-6, and his prior 2 starts were also no decisions. Score, bottom of the first inning. Cal Ripken Sr.'s coaching at third. And Johnny Oates is the first base coach. Called strike 2, and the count is full. Brady Anderson strikes out on a fastball tailing away. That pitch had great movement. Dave Stieb has fanned the first 2 Oriole hitters.
That's why, and that's how he can get a lot of strikeouts. Look at that thing. Well, you'd think it was designed that way, the way it was moving.
If the first inning is any indication, it looks like both Dave Stieb and Ben Mcdonald have great stuff. Cal Ripken has never hit Stieb well, .213 lifetime, with 1 home run.
Steve has always offered the diversity in his arsenal of pitches. That's why he's so difficult to catch up to.
Ball 1. Steve is a very nervous, high-strung type. You see him talk to himself occasionally during a game. Very competitive. He does have a tendency to let things bother him when somebody boots a ball behind him or if he doesn't get a call, and we saw that happen the last time he faced the Orioles in Toronto. Versus 10 hits had him talking to himself.
Yeah, that's what does it.
But he's been a great pitcher. Sam Horn is on deck. Steve has won more games than any pitcher in Blue Jay history. 166 career wins. He's lost 123.
As long as you spend the evening trying to catch up to him, that is, if he's pitching ahead in the count, it'll be very difficult on you. Ooh.
2-2. Steve pitched a no-hitter in early September against the Cleveland Indians. That was after flirting with the no-hitter on several previous occasions in recent years. The slider is hit foul out of play. Steve had taken no-hitters into the 9th inning 4 times before, and he lost 3 of those with 2 outs in the 9th. But he finally got the no-no this year against the Indians in Cleveland. Ripken hits it foul down the right field line.
We've seen all his pitches now in the first inning. Breaking ball, change up right there. The last one he threw up there, but we've seen them all. Including that fastball with probably 2 different kinds. Moving one and then the one that's a little more straight. What to think about at the plate.
Fastball is popped up down the right field line. Junior Felix on the move, having trouble, but makes the catch. So the Orioles go in order with Dave Steve striking out 2 of the 3 batters he faced, and at the end of 1, the Orioles and Blue Jays are scoreless.
Yes, he's back. And Wolves go off Way's way with Elmer Fudd. Mcdonald retired the Blue Jays in order in the first inning, so he'll face Fred Mcgriff, George Bell, and John Olerud in the second inning. Well, it's easy to look back over the season and say where would the Orioles have been had Ben McDonald been in the rotation from the start. What would have happened had Randy Milligan not gone down with a shoulder injury in early August? Very possible the Orioles would have been in contention in the American League East. They were at the time Milligan got hurt. And McDonald has been spectacular since returning to good health and coming up from Rochester.
It's possible they could have made up the 12-game deficit they're looking at right now.
A lot of ifs. What if Bob Malachi hadn't been hurt? Fred Mcgriff had the game winner last night, a 9th inning home run off Dave Johnson that gave the Blue Jays a 2-1 victory and kept them alive in the American League East. He takes a breaking ball low. Mcgriff with 35 home runs.
That's precisely why you can never count them out in a close game, because they get a tremendous home run power.
In the second inning at Fenway Park, the White Sox, the Red Sox are scoreless. Popped up, foul out of play, and it's 1-1 to Mcgriff.
The Red Sox know they'll be playing tomorrow, even if they lose. That same consideration is not given to the Blue Jays. They must win.
The Blue Jays must win, and the Red Sox must lose for Toronto to wind up tied with Boston. Foul back, and it's 1-2 to Mcgriff, who led the American League in home runs last year with 36. George Bell was on deck. It's rather ironic that Cecil Fielder, who will lead the league this year in home runs, was with the Blue Jays and didn't get a chance to play much because Mcgriff was playing ahead of him. Breaking ball in the corner, and down goes Mcgriff.
Well, he'll challenge these good hitters with his best stuff, and then if he wants to put them away, he'll go to that breaking ball. And it's got such a sharp downward breakthrough that you don't have much time to make up your mind to swing at it. Look at that weight shift to Mcgriff. By then, he's already committed himself. See there? If he throws the ball that hard, 95, you got to get that body going, and that's what Mcgriff did.
By the way, the Orioles today announced that Frank Robinson and his entire coaching staff will be back next year. Fastball for a strike to George Bell. Speaking of Cecil Fielder, he's trying to hit his 50th home run. He walked his first time up tonight. But can you imagine Cecil Fielder as a designated hitter on this team if Toronto had kept him? In there with the likes of Bell and Mcgriff and Gruber.
It's one of those unfortunate decisions you got to make when you're loaded with talent. You're going to let some good players go.
Line shot into right field for a base hit. Finley trying to cut it off, and it gets away from him, and Bell is on his way to second. See how they score that. It'll be a single and an error charged to Steve Finley.
Very rarely do you see a right-handed hitter hit the ball so hard into the gap out there that it causes an outfielder to misplay it. But this ball just completely ate up Steve Finley in right field because it would hit so viciously hard out there. Just could never corral it. And George Bell seized upon the opportunity to take second as soon as he saw that ball right there get away from Steve.
So the Blue Jays have their first hit and a man in scoring position with John Olerud coming up. Olerud has killed the Orioles this year. He's hit .384 against them. Bell is at second with one out. No score. Ball one to Olerud. Former college star at Washington State, whose career and life almost came to an end to a brain aneurysm. He underwent surgery, and there was doubt as to whether he'd be able to continue his career, but the Blue Jays drafted him on the third round. Good breaking ball by Ben, and it's 1-1. Got a real sweet-looking swing. Reminds you a little bit of Freddie Lynn with that swing of his. Although he's bigger than Lynn. Popped up down the left field line. Brady Anderson coming hard toward the line to make the catch.
See, that's the difference between having a plotter in left field and someone who can run. You put a plotting outfielder out there, he might not get to that ball even though it hung up for a while.
I think Brady overall might be the best center fielder of the three. But Devereaux is more comfortable in center field.
I agree.
And Brady is better able to play left than Devereaux can. And for some reason, Finley looks like he plays better when he's in right. Although all three of them are natural center fielders. Breaking ball in the dirt, and it's ball one to Pat Borders.
Because Brady completely overmatches that left field position. He probably should be in either center or right.
When the Oakland A's had that great outfield of Ricky Henderson, Wayne Murphy, Tony Armas, they were all three really center fielders. The count, although the Yankees tried to use Henderson in center field in Yankee Stadium, a cavernous ballpark, and he was not as effective and eventually moved back to left field. The White Sox and the Red Sox are still scoreless in the second inning at Fenway Park. And Ben Mcdonald is behind 3-0 on Pat Borders. Borders has hurt the Orioles this year. He's hit .391 with 2 home runs.
You got to know who to walk. If he's going to walk anybody, this would be a probably good move.
With the light hitting Luis Sojo on deck. Borders, a very aggressive fastball hitter. Swinging with a 3-0 pitch. He had the green light.
You were more than likely going to get your best pitch on 3-0 than in any other place in the count. Gaston gave him that hit sign. He seized the opportunity to swing at it, but that was a good cut. It might take a 3-0 swing to produce something tonight.
The Orioles won the first game of the series 6-3. Toronto won last night 2-1. Bud Black and Dave Johnson hooked up in a pitcher's duel last night. It was a shame for either pitcher to lose as well as they pitched. 1 breaking ball misses and border ones.
Well, I'm sure that's what Tilden walked out to the mound to tell Ben, hey, he got much too good of a cut on that 3-0 pitch. Let's not give him such a good pitch to swing at this time. Let's work on the next hitter.
Luis Soho.
So he pitches carefully to Borders and walks him, and Soho, who has very little power, comes up now. Soho came into the game late in game 1 after Manny Lee hurt his shoulder, and then he played last night and went 1 for 3. He spent most of the season in the International League with Syracuse, where he hit .296. Strike 1 to Soho. No score, top of the 2nd inning. Ben Mcdonald, a 2-time All-American and College Player of the Year at LSU. Big hook had Soho rocking back, but it's called a ball.
See, the umpire, Richie Garcia, is a small guy in his own right, so if those balls are sticking up there too high to him, he's going to call them balls, even though that ball was right down the middle.
It was an awfully good pitch. Another curveball is bounced to Cal Ripken, a tough hop. He goes to second for the force. So Cal Ripken makes the play to end the inning, and the Blue Jays leave runners at first and second. At the end of an inning and a half, the Orioles and Blue Jays are scoreless.
Be a great weekend.
The big question is what's going to happen to Rimmer's Rumors.
Rumors returns. In fact, Tom, as you asked me to come in here, we were just talking on the telephone trying to get a rumor for Friday night.
How about this year? You're all decked out in a double-breasted suit. I've never seen you wear something this fancy.
I was waiting for you to ask me the question, first of all, why I was here in a suit. Secondly, if I'd come on the air, and I figured I can put the two stones together and do the job. And seriously, I'm looking forward to the season. The Caps had their kickoff luncheon today, their media luncheon, and everyone's excited about the coming season.
How do you figure the Caps are going to finish in the division?
Good question. I think the division is no different than it was last year. Very competitive division, and I think the Washington Capitals will hold their own. I don't really think there's a dominant team in the National Hockey League. Talking to some Montreal writers here covering the Toronto Blue Jays, they feel the Canadians aren't as good a team as they were last year. So I think the National Hockey League is, as it's been over the last couple of years, is going to be a very even league.
Still too many teams make the playoffs when you consider there's 21.
No, they only play 80 games. If you played 162 games, you'd only need 2 or 3 teams to make the playoffs. It's great. It's a great sport. We're looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to the challenge of doing the play-by-play, Tom. Maybe I'll give you a hint or two.
Jeff Brimmer, the new play-by-play voice of the Washington Caps here on Home Team Sports. Let's go back to Mel Proctor and John Lowenstone.
All right, Jeff, great suit, but what time do you have to have it back? And from Fenway Park, Dwight Evans at the plate. Mr. Clutch comes through with a base hit up the middle, and that scores Mike Greenwell to give Boston a 1-0 lead over the White Sox. That's in the 2nd inning in Boston. If the Red Sox win, it doesn't matter what Toronto does. Sam Horn leads off the 2nd inning against Dave Stieb and takes a pitch inside. Sam had a pinch hit home run in the first game of the series. He has 14 homers and only 242 at-bats, which is an excellent ratio. And Steve is behind on him 2-0, but Sam said he'd like to get one more. He'd like the sound of 15. Steve is stingy with the gopher balls, though. He's allowed only 11 home runs. 2-1.
That's because a lot of people can't catch up to that breaking ball of his. Therefore, he's not going to give up many home runs. But you have to be very aggressive at the plate and swing at that pitch, too.
Mickey Tettleton is on deck.
But he'll give up some home runs on that curveball, that slider. See there, you gotta offer at it. Sam's big enough; he could hit it out to any part of this park.
2-2 to Sam. Frank Robinson says he's been 2 different hitters. The Sam Horn in the first half, who tried to pull everything, and the Sam Horn after the All-Star break, who's hit the ball where it's pitched and has been more successful. He skies one to left field. George Bell has it measured. 1 out. Rimmer showed up wearing that nice suit. He's here in the booth. Jeff, you have to take the tags. You're not supposed to wear it with the tags. Take the tags off.
Boy, you are hard. No, it looks nice, Jeff.
Sox now lead 2-0. Tom Brunansky, who's been red hot, has tripled in Dwight Evans to make it 2-0 Boston. Fouled back, 1 ball, 1 strike. If the Red Sox build up a big lead, that's going to take some of the suspense out of this game. Gruber's out slashing my tires right now. Went out the door with a knife. 2 balls, 1 strike to Mickey Tettleton. No score, bottom of the 2nd inning. Just outside, 3-1. This is the kind of situation Mickey Tettleton really thrives on when the count is in his favor and he can sit on a fastball. Second base, Soho and Fernandez, and Soho makes the catch.
Well, you hit that right too, Mel, except when Steve's out there, you're never guaranteed it's going to be that fastball, and it wasn't.
Soho wants to make sure he and Tony Fernandez are on the same page. They nearly collided on that play.
Well, you don't really have time to make any decisions out there. You just got to go after the ball because it wasn't hit very high.
Mike Devereaux climbs in with 2 outs and nobody on. It's a slow bouncer back to Steve, who's a great fielder, and he throws him out. So Steve has retired the first 6 Orioles to face him, and at the end of 2, we have no score from Memorial Stadium. Join Home Team Sports every Monday night for the Washington Post Sports Talk. Some of the area's top sports writers get together to talk about what's hot in the world of sports. That's the Washington Post Sports Talk, Mondays on the channel you cheer for, Home Team Sports. The Orioles and the Blue Jays are scoreless through 2 innings, but at Fenway Park, the Red Sox lead the White Sox 2-0 in the 2nd inning. The Red Sox win. This game is immaterial. Won't matter. Boston has to do is win to clinch the American League East.
That's rookie Alex Fernandez going for the White Sox tonight too, but he's thrown as well as anyone on that staff.
See, the general manager, Roland Heeman, roaming in the stands tonight, visiting with the Oriole fans. He learned a lot what he knows and things he does about baseball from Bill Beck in Chicago. And that's one of the things Beck used to like to do, is get up in the stands and talk to people.
Look at Roland.
Roland and the Bird Brains.
Great group. Video's next.
Junior Felix will lead off the 3rd inning against Ben Mcdonald, who worked himself out of a minor jam in the 2nd, with Toronto leaving runners at 1st and 2nd. Boston now leads 3-0 in the 2nd inning. Understand the Red Sox attempted a squeeze, which is very unusual for Fenway Park. Tony Pena failed to get the bunt down, and Tom Brunansky, the runner at 3rd, was caught in a rundown. The White Sox threw the ball away, and Brunansky scored to make it 3-0. I love it. Oh. 2-0 the count to Junior Felix.
It's unusual for Joe Morgan to even bunt up there, much less squeeze.
Unusual for anyone to squeeze at Fenway. I don't think I've ever seen a squeeze play at Fenway Park. That occurred early in the game. They'd already scored a couple of runs. An off-the-wall move by Joe Morgan, who does the unorthodox. He's the guy who's pinch hit for Wade Boggs and Jim Rice. Done some unusual things. Ball for a strike, and it's 2-2 to Junior Felix, who has just 1 hit in the series. Felix is celebrating his 23rd birthday today. Sharp curveball is inside, and it's 3-2 to Felix. Jr. has the tools to be an outstanding player. He runs well. For a little guy, he has a lot of power. Line shot, speared by Worthington. Worthington takes a base hit away from Junior Felix, and that had double written all over it.
Well, he really went up the ladder on this one. He knows he's going to have to get off his feet. Ground there. Whoa, look at that. Actually caught that thing behind him.
With one out, we go to the top of the order for Mookie Wilson, who's up there hacking and slashing. Mookie flied to left his first time up. Mookie's a very aggressive, exciting player. Doesn't take many pitches. He'll normally swing early in the count. Leadoff man, he strikes out a lot. He struck out over 100 times this year. He also doesn't walk very much.
Right, that's what he'll give you. He'll give you a good at bat because he's a swinger.
1-2. No score, top of the third inning. Good breaking ball by Ben Mcdonald, and he strikes out Mookie Wilson. That's the third strikeout for Big Ben.
So primarily two pitches again tonight. That fastball of his, that moving eater, and then this uncompromising breaking ball that he's picked up out of his pocket tonight.
We're keeping you informed of the progress of the Red Sox-White Sox game in Boston. We're also updating Cecil Fielder's march toward 50 home runs. He failed to get a hit in his second time up.
And he's leading off tonight, too, so Sparky wants to give him as many at-bats as he can.
Ball one to Tony Fernandez, who struck out his first time up.
But how about George Brett, Mel? Third batting title. 3 in 3 decades.
George sat out last night's game.
Yeah, I guess he got a lot of advice from people around the league, and a lot of it concerned whether or not he should just wait to see if anybody could catch in. No sense in going down to meet them, but evidently he pulled it out today.
3-0 to Tony Fernandez. 2 outs, bases empty. Top of the third in a scoreless game. Ben Mcdonald against Dave Steve in the final regular season game of the year. 3-1. Fernandez last year hit a career high 11 home runs. He's hit just 4 this season. 3-2. Draws a 2-out walk. The second walk allowed by Mcdonald. He actually pitched around Pat Waters with first base open in the second inning and walked him, and that worked out for him as Luis Sojo grounded into a force play to end the inning. Fernandez runs well, though. He has 26 stolen bases. Despite the knee problems he's had, he can still steal. Gruber flied to left his first time up.
Well, it's an interesting dilemma right here that they're faced with, and if the guy can run real well, then the guy at the plate has nearly 120 RBIs.
Called strike. Often there's a tendency not to run with the base stealer on, with a power hitter up, but against a guy like Mcdonald who's pitched so well, you might want to have him running to try to get a man into scoring position, because you know you're not going to get that many scoring opportunities.
I think you have to be as creative as is possible, especially in an important game like this.
See, Ben Mcdonald has opened up his move a little bit. Several of these Oriole pitchers have taken a page out of Dave Johnson's notebook. Mcdonald and Schilling both opening up their stretch toward first base, giving them a little better view of the runner. We've seen how effective Dave Johnson has been with his move. Big hook for a strike. Gruber, his rear end was in the Oriole dugout on that pitch. And it's 0-2. Watch him bail.
Well, you can't blame him. It's hard to detect what's coming because he gets there so quickly. But when you lean back like that, then you can never regroup to hit it. Just a subtle form of intimidation a hard thrower gives you on the mound.
Fastball is tapped out in front of the plate. Mcdonald will have to hurry and throws him out. Fine play by the big man from Louisiana as he throws out Gruber. At the end of 2.5, the Orioles and Blue Jays are scoreless. Let's go back to Tom.
Well, Mel, before we get into some of those Boston highlights, the Red Sox are leading the Chicago White Sox 3-0 in the second inning. Just want to wish a couple of happy birthdays to Vicky Rothschild. Also a hello to Laurie Ann Hart in Pocomoke City from Bert Elliott. And also a happy 82nd birthday to Mona Heldreth of Glen Burnie. So happy birthday to those folks. Now time to take a look at the Miller highlights. We're going to show you some of the Boston-Chicago game that everybody's interested in. The game's now in the third inning. Alex Fernandez pitching for the White Sox. Mike Boddicker going for his 6th win in a row for the Boston Red Sox. Dewey Evans had an RBI single to put Boston up 1-0. And then Tom Bernansky will come to bat facing Fernandez, and he's going to deliver a 3-bagger to right center field that'll score Evans all the way from first base and give the Red Sox a 2-0 advantage. Just remember, if Boston wins this game is meaningless here in Baltimore, Toronto, and the Orioles. It just depends on what happens. It takes on much more of an importance here if Boston winds up with a loss. But right now they have a 3-0 lead in the second. Tony Peña's going to miss laying down a bunt, but during the rundown, they blow the rundown, and Bernansky's going to score from third. And Boston will take the 3-0 lead in the second inning. And when you consider Mike Boddicker's ability in key games, he pitched some magnificent baseball for the Orioles in 1983. You may remember the Birds lost the first game of the series against the White Sox, and it was Boddicker who pitched in game 2 and did the magnificent job. I think he struck out like 13 Chicago White Sox in that game. And of course, the Orioles lost the first game to the Phillies in the World Series in '83, and he came back and got them on the right foot to even the series before they went to Philadelphia. Boddicker's had the pressure behind him in the past, and he's done some marvelous work. And tonight he's got a 3-0 lead with the game in the second inning. Boston leading the Chicago White Sox now in the third. Boston 3-0. So that's a complete look at the Miller highlights. Let's go back upstairs to Mel Proctor and John Lowenstein.
Dave Stieb has been perfect through the first 2 innings. He's retired all 6 Orioles to face him, and he'll take a look at Jeff McKnight, Craig Worthington, and Bill Ripken, the bottom of the order in the third inning.
Your attention, please.
Our classic matchup, Dave Stieb and Ben Mcdonald.
The first baseman, number 38, Jeff.
Stieb has allowed no runs on no hits, walked none, and struck out 2. He struck out the first 2 batters he faced. David Segui is still hurting. He has a bad back, so Jeff McKnight has been playing first base. Jeff hasn't been hitting much, though. He's 2 for 6 in the series and batting 194. He takes a pitch low. We noticed before the game that Rene Gonzalez was taking infield, not only in the infield, but as a catcher.
I think if you look around and you're an extra man, you see other people being able to do possibly as many things as you, if not more, and you've got to do one other thing.
Gonzo senses there's going to be some hot competition for the utility man spot in this club next spring. McKnight has shown that he can play a lot of different positions.
But if you can catch as an extra man, boy, what an edge you got. That's one thing that kept a guy like Lenny Cicada around for a long time, the fact that he's always a threat to catch.
Called strike, and Dave Roberts as well. Roberts, the former #1 pick of the San Diego Padres, a shortstop, third baseman, learned to catch in his, I guess, late 20s. A drive to left field. George Bell breaks back and takes it. That's 7 in a row, retired by Dave Stieb. Bell has slipped some defensively. He's also had the blurred vision problem, which has to be a hindrance in the field. But you recall Several years ago, the Blue Jays, Jimmy Williams, the manager at the time, tried to make him a full-time designated hitter, and he balked at that. It became a real controversial topic. Craig Worthington steps in against Dave Stieb. Strike one.
But I always thought George could play a decent outfield if he just played deep. You know, if you try to start playing the hitters and start coming in like some of your faster outfielders do, then you run into problems.
Slider is outside, and it's 1-1 to Worthington. Craig made a great catch on a line drive by Junior Felix in the third inning to save a double. 1-2. He's had a disappointing second year in the big leagues, hitting just .225 with only 8 homers, 44 runs batted in. 2-2, and the third base situation is very much unsettled right now. Leo Gomez really hasn't hit since he's come up from Rochester. Worthington spoils a slider, and it's 2-2.
Usually, Mel, what it comes down to is the administration making a decision of which one of these players they want to hold on to. But Craig's been an enigma at the plate with the bat.
Play is being halted. Apparently somebody upstairs has a light on, and Rich Garcia, the plate umpire, is asking them to turn it off. There are media here from everywhere, from both Canada, United States. Somebody up there is doing a stand-up. They want the lights turned off. You can't even get in the press box. It's so full. Almost a World Series or playoff-like atmosphere in terms of coverage.
For Canadians, gotta get them out.
Hey.
Oh.
Ground ball to Fred Mcgriff at first. Stieb ran a fastball in on Worthington's fist and really jammed him, and that's 8 in a row retired by Stieb.
That's what I said early in the game, Mel. If you're not anticipating ahead as to what he can do to you inside off the plate, you're never going to have a chance to recover up there. You got to be thinking ahead and thinking with him.
Well, the Orioles media voted Cal Ripken as the most valuable Oriole this year, although Bill Ripken, I'm sure, got a lot of votes the season he's had. Had a great defensive year and has also hit .287, well above his career average. In fact, his .287 batting average is 48 points higher than his career average. Also tied for the league lead in sacrifice hits. 2-0 to Billy. No score, bottom of the third inning. The Blue Jays lead the season series 8-4, and you see Dave Stieb beginning to mumble to himself. 2-1. In his early years, Stieb was obsessed with perfection. He would glare at a base runner after a hit or a teammate who didn't make a play. And Gene Mauch once said, he's good, but there's nobody in the world as good as he acts like he is. A flare into right field for a base hit. Billy Ripken heading for second. Junior Felix throws, not in time. Billy had his mind made up. He was going to try to turn that into a double, and Felix was slow to get to the ball, and the Orioles have their first base runner.
Well, he won the challenge because Felix had such a long way to get after that ball. And you're right, Billy made up his mind coming out of the box right there. But he challenged him to make a perfect throw to get him. But Billy had the headway to get in there before the ball. You do those kinds of things with 2 outs because you can press the attack. See, it's tough for him to recover and throw accurately and get it there in time.
So Bill Ripken is aboard with a 2-out double, and Steve Finley comes up trying to give the Orioles the lead. Finley struck out his first time up. Steve, with men in scoring position this year, is hitting .250. Ball 1. field, straight away and shallow on Finley. 2-0. Steve wants a new baseball. He gets a little fidgety when men get on base and things start to happen. He's a nervous, high-strung type to begin with.
I've always liked that fierce, competitive nature of his. I think it keeps him in the game.
He wrote his biography several years ago entitled "Tomorrow I'll Be Perfect."
Yeah. That's all he needed.
But he's a perfectionist. 3-0. Brady Anderson is on deck. No score, bottom of the third. Steve retired the first 8 batters and then gave up a 2-out double to Bill Ripken. Called strike, and it's 3-1. To the second baseman, Luis Sojo. And the Orioles leave a man in scoring position. The end of 3 innings, it's the Orioles nothing and the Blue Jays nothing. Brooks Robinson, Earl Weaver, Dave McNally, Paul Blair, and other past Orioles in the 6th annual fantasy camp. It's a fantastic week of baseball with the pros at the Orioles spring training site in Sarasota, Florida, January 27th through February the 3rd. For more information, call 1-800-243-BIRD. Both the Orioles and the Blue Jays have had scoring opportunities, but neither team has been able to take the lead so far. And in the 4th, Ben Mcdonald will face Fred Mcgriff, George Bell, and John Olerud. In the 3rd inning at Fenway Park, the Red Sox lead the White Sox 3-0. Mcgriff was called out on strikes his first time up. Mcgriff grew up in the Tampa, Florida area. And he watched the Reds during spring training, but said he never really developed a favorite player on the Reds. But as a youngster, he idolized Dave Parker because the Pirates trained in Florida about an hour from Tampa. And he said Parker was very good and talked to him a lot of times, gave him batting tips. He just told him to every day just get the bat and keep swinging it. And as he was growing up as a youngster, that's what he did. Every day he'd take his bat out, take his cuts. Two-0, the count to Mcgriff. Mcgriff said he doesn't go up there trying to hit home runs. He just tries to hit the ball hard somewhere. But he's hit his share, 36 last year and 35 this year, including 1 last night to give the Blue Jays a victory. Popped up into left center field. Mike Devereaux calls for it. Look out, Brady. The center fielder's ball.
Yeah, but that happens often out in this Orioles outfield because they're all so fast. There's a lot of overlapping, like sprinklers in a yard.
And it happened in a situation last night that bailed out Devereaux. There was a ball hit to center field, and Mike slipped. But Steve Finley, who was playing right field, had hustled over into the area, and had he not been there, the ball would have fallen in for a hit, but Finley caught it. George Bell has just 1 homer in his last 46 games. That came off the Orioles' Dave Johnson in Toronto. That blurred vision problem seems to have robbed him of his power. George singled his first time up and went to second on an error, but the Blue Jays couldn't get him home. Ball 1 to Bell. Toronto is 0 for 2 with men in scoring position tonight.
Well, neither club is likely to have many chances.
Bounced foul. 1 ball, 1 strike to Bell, whose younger brother Juan plays for the Orioles. And we had a situation develop in the first game of the series where it looked like George might have a chance to throw Juan out of home plate. Juan had entered the game as a pinch runner, and the ball was hit to left field, but was not hit hard enough for George to have a chance to nail Juan. One and two as Bell hacks at a breaking ball.
Well, both he and Mcgriff tried to hit home runs. Griff the last time, and looks like Bell's trying to do the same thing here. You can understand it.
There's Juan, who's played the last couple of years at Rochester after being acquired from the Dodgers. You wonder where he fits in. Isn't much point in sending him back to AAA. Could he possibly be a utility man?
No. He's not going to play short either.
Why couldn't he be a utility man? He's played second and short in the minor league.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if he began his career in that fashion. I'm not sure if he could begin it here as a utility man, but who knows? Things change in spring training. They're much more dynamic during the spring than they are during the course of the season.
Got a pretty good bat. He runs well. Play a couple of different infield positions. Fastball is stroked into left center field for a base hit. Devereaux cuts it off. Bell's heading for second. The throw is in time. He's out. Juan Bell watching his older brother George get cut down by Mike Devereaux on an outstanding play. That ball was in deep left center field. Devereaux doesn't have a great arm, but he got rid of the ball quickly and nailed Bell at second.
Oh, it was a marvelous gamble, and it took the quickest tag you'll see from Billy Ripken here to get him. He has to come down from that up position there and place it right on his foot. And there's Steve Palermo who emphatically gestured that, yes, he's out. But he makes the play right here because he didn't spend much time before he got rid of it. Watch this tag. Right down on top of the foot.
Most outfielders wouldn't have the quickness to even cut that ball off. But Devereaux's speed allowed him to get over there and cut it off. 2-0 to John Olerud. 2 outs in the 4th inning, no score. Olerud flied to left his first time up. That was with a runner in scoring position. Surrounded by other good hitters in the lineup, the Blue Jays have been able to bring Olerud slowly. There hasn't been a lot of pressure on him. 2-1 the count. But he's going to be an outstanding hitter. Wonder where he'll wind up playing, though. Possibly at first base, maybe in the outfield. And we understand Cecil Fielder just hit his 50th home run of the year. We'll give you any details we might get, but Cecil has finally hit number 50. He's one of the amazing stories of this 1990 season. A guy who didn't get much playing time in Toronto because first they had Willie Upshaw and then Fred Mcgriff. Grew frustrated, went to Japan, had a big year last year with the Hanshin Tigers, and then came back, signed a lucrative 2-year contract with the Tigers, and has led the major league in home runs now with 50. Breaking ball misses, and it's 3-2 to John Olerud.
What's amazing about Fielder hitting that number 50, it hadn't been done since 1961 when Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle both accomplished it in the same year. That's how long it's been in the American League. Of course, George Foster did it with Cincinnati.
Got it. Good curveball from Ben Mcdonald, and Olerud strikes out. The end of 3.5 innings of play. Still no score. Let's go back to Tom, who I'm sure may have some details on Cecil Fielder's home run.
No, you know, that's the first time Tigers hit 50 home runs in a single season since Hank Greenberg in 58 home runs that year. So that's another remarkable accomplishment. Frank Robinson came very close to hitting 50 at 49 in 1966, the year he won the Triple Crown with the Orioles, and he still had about 8 games to play, he told us last night, and he only played in about 5 of those. He really didn't think 50 was that big of an accomplishment after he had the 49th home run in 1966, but he says, you know, they're probably making a lot more out of 50 now than they did back then. Of course, Harmon Killebrew hit 49 home runs in the year of expansion in 1969 in the American League, missing out by 1. But Fielder who was hitting leadoff for the Detroit Tigers tonight. Sparky Anderson wanted to get him at least 5 at-bats, and Fielder comes through with his 50th home run. George Brett, by the way, won the batting title with a 329 average. Ricky Henderson only went 1 for 3. I think he finished around 326.5 or 326.5, so he finishes second. Bob Welsh recorded his 27th win last night. That's the most in the major since 1972, when Steve Carlton recorded 27 for the 72 Phillies. And Willie McGee won the National League batting title with a 335 average. He was gone a long time from St. Louis, and that mark stayed the same, and really was not challenged over the last couple of weeks. As for the Boston-Chicago game, so we take a look now at the Washington Post scoreboard. Boston leading Chicago 3-0 in the second inning. You've seen some of the highlights. Dewey Evans with an RBI single. Tom Bernansky tripled in Evans, and then Tony Pena tried to squeeze home Bernansky, failed to do so, but they botched the throw down the left field line, and Bernansky was able to score from third. It's Mike Boddicker against Alex Fernandez. Boddicker's going for his 6th win in a row. Boston leading Chicago 3-0 with the game now in the third inning. A Boston win puts them against Oakland in the playoffs, but Boston has to lose and Toronto has to win to force that deciding game tomorrow in Toronto. The big round of applause right down here now at the stadium is because they just put up on the board that Cecil Fielder had come through with his 50th home run on the Diamond Vision. Let's go back upstairs now to Mel Proctor and John Lowenstein.
All right, Tom, several amazing accomplishments. Fielder coming back from Japan to hit 50 home runs, and George Brett winning the batting title. Brett was hitting .216 in mid-May and just .267 at the All-Star break, and he finishes at .329.
Yeah, he went 1 for 1 today to do it.
Brady Anderson leads off the 4th inning against Dave Steve. Ball 1 to Brady, who struck out his first time up.
I think if I was pitching against Cecil Fielder tonight, I might try to groove one in there, make him hit it the old-fashioned way, make him earn it.
1-1 to Brady Anderson. The Orioles have had only 1 hit off Steve, a 2-out double by Bill Ripken in the 3rd inning. The Blue Jays have had just 2 hits off Ben Mcdonald, both by George Bell. 2-1. Dave Steve, a 33-year-old veteran from San Jose, California. He and the Yankees' Dave Righetti were junior college teammates at San Jose Community College. Popped up on the left side, Tony Fernandez out on the outfield grass. 1 out. Steve, after playing junior college ball in San Jose, went to Southern Illinois, the same school that produced Steve Finley. And like Finley, Steve was an outfielder. He was an All-American outfielder, signed as an outfielder, was struggling in the minor leagues. And Toronto scout Bobby Maddock went down to take a look at him. He pitched a couple of innings, and Maddock was impressed by his arm and went back and told the general manager, Pat Gillick, that he'd seen a kid who knocked his eyes out. And after hitting just 195 in 35 rookie league games, they converted him to pitching. And he went on to become the all-time winner in Toronto Blue Jay history with 166 lifetime wins. And because of his outfield background, he's one of the best fielders in the game. He can really field his position. Down goes Cal Ripken. Steve likes to work inside. Last year he hit 13 batters.
I'll tell you what, though, it's that kind of bulldog tenacity that you get you the kind of respect you need to win this game.
And Cal likes to dive in on those pitches. Line drive, foul down the right field line. And the count is 1-2.
You almost have to be ruthless on the mound. Now, that's always the impression I've had of Dave Speed, that and that fierce competitive nature of his. You combine those two, you know, you've got someone wrapped up into a package like Bob Gibson used to be with the St. Louis Cardinals. But not quite as vicious.
Just missed, and the count is 2-2. Good thing that pitch was called a ball because Cal had no chance. Steve tried to jam him, and the pitch is fouled off. No score, bottom of the 4th inning. Dave Steve and Ben Mcdonald hooked up in a pitcher's duel so far.
Reminiscent of the game we saw last night. Not much happening.
Bud Black and Dave Johnson going at it last night, with Black coming out on top. Toronto winning 2-1 to stay alive in the American League East pennant race. Struck him out.
Well, he's no fancy Dan on the mound, that's for sure. You know, he'll blow you away with that good hard stuff upstairs, and he'll tickle you to death with that breaking ball that practically is unhittable.
This fastball is really moving. Cito Gaston, the longtime hitting instructor for the Blue Jays, who took over last year on an interim basis after Jimmy Williams was fired. Initially, he didn't want the job. They talked to several other candidates and then finally decided to keep Cito, and really had a calming influence on this club. Sam Horn whacks the first pitch foul. Popped up foul out of play on the third base side, and it's 0-2. Mike Flanagan had a great line last year about Cito Gaston's interim status. He said we should sign Cito to a 3-year deal as the interim manager, because when you get right down to it, all managers are interim anyway.
That's right.
But eventually the term interim was dropped and Cito became the full-time manager. 1-2 to Sam Horn. He's had his hands full again this year with some internal problems. There's some bickering that has taken place in the clubhouse between George Bell and some of the younger players. George was saying that the youngster didn't have enough respect for the veterans. Good fastball, and Steve blows Horn away. So the Orioles go in order. And at the end of 4, we are scoreless. You're watching Orioles baseball on the Home Team Sports Cable Network. Powered by your nearby Sears Home Improvement Professionals, the most trusted name around the house. Mel Proctor with John Lowenstein and Tom Davis at Memorial Stadium for the final regular season game of the 1990 season, and Ben Mcdonald and Dave Steve are hooked up in a scoreless battle through 4 innings. The Blue Jays actually have 2 hits, both by George Bell. Toronto with 2 hits, and the Orioles with only a double by Bill Ripken off Steve. But the future is burning bright with Ben Mcdonald leading the way. 6'7" right-hander from LSU has gone 8 and 5 this year. Just a couple of shutouts. Been absolutely brilliant at times. The bottom of the order coming up in the 5th. Pat Borders, Luis Sojo, and Junior Felix to face Mcdonald. Ben pitched around Borders with first base open in the 2nd inning and then walked him and then retired the next batter, Sojo, on a ground out. Hits a fly ball to shallow right. Finley coming hard and can't get it. It drops in for a base hit. So Borders on base for the 2nd time, and that's the 3rd hit for the Blue Jays.
See, that's the kind of respect you get, though, when you put up 15 home runs on the year. Even the guys on the opposite field got to play you a little deeper than normal. And consequently, Steve wasn't able to catch up with a little looper.
A lot of teams would be bunting in this situation, but with the Blue Jays, you don't know, because they're on target to set a major league record for fewest sacrifices in a season. They just don't like to bunt.
Quite frankly, I can understand them disdaining the bunt, but you're more than likely to see one here than at any time in their order.
You've got the number 9 hitter coming up in Junior Felix, but like many teams, the Blue Jays have put a pretty good hitter in the number 9 spot. It used to be that you'd stick your weakest hitter 9th, but now you'll see a lot of teams could put good hitters, especially hitters with speed, in that number 9 spot.
It's got a bunt.
He offers it the pitch, and it's strike 1.
Mac, Luis Sojo might be a candidate for a bunt on each successive strike if he's not able to lay it down.
Toronto has just 18 sacrifices. Bill Ripken himself has 17.
That is remarkable.
gets the bunt down. Worthington's got to play at second, but makes a poor throw, and he's saved on a good dig at second base by Cal Ripken.
You're right. Cal Jr. saved that play for Worthington. But in his haste to get it to second base, he threw the ball a little low. But as Cal Jr. has done so often this year and in years past, he comes up with the save on this ball thrown in the dirt. And not an easy bounce either.
So Borders is forced at second, and Soho reaches out a fielder's choice, and the sacrifice is unsuccessful. What a sensational defensive year Cal has had. He's closing in on 2 major league fielding marks. He's committed only 3 errors. Tony Fernandez set the major league mark last year with just 6. So he'd set 1 mark for fewest errors and another for best fielding percentage. Junior Felix hit a line shot of Craig Worthington his first time up. And Soho draws the throw. Soho has 1 stolen base. And he was caught stealing last night. Tried to run on Dave Johnson in the 8th inning and was thrown out. Called strike.
Well, seeing as how Mcdonald is employing Dave Johnson's stretch on the mound, you might not see any movement towards second base tonight either for stealing a successful base.
It was Bob Melvin who threw out Soho last night. Soho at Syracuse this year had 10 stolen bases, so he's got pretty good speed. And draws a throw.
And actually, when you bunt into a force out at second like that, you kind of feel compelled to get down there of your own volition.
No score, top of the 5th inning. The Blue Jays are trying to stay alive in the American League East. Blue Jays are no strangers to finishes like this. This is the 4th time in the last 6 years the Blue Jays have gone down to their last series before an Eastern Division winner was determined.
Well, everything's on the line. Everything's on the line tonight.
Ball rolls away from Mickey Tettleton, but not far enough for Soho to advance, and the count is 1-1 to Junior Felix.
What I would have expected, Mel, the Blue Jays to come out here and do just about anything they could tonight to try to win this game. You know, hitting, running, bunting, whatever it takes to put some runs up. Especially against someone who is as uncompromising as Ben Mcdonald on the mound. Someone who pitches with his kind of conviction.
Felix hits a chopper off the plate, and this is trouble. Tettleton grabs it and will have no play. The way Felix can run, he had no chance to get him, and it's a base hit.
It's a base hit as soon as it bounced up off the plate and went as high as it did, especially as well as Felix can run.
So the Blue Jays are threatening with runners at first and second and 1 out in a scoreless game.
That's the kind of unexpected help you get from the playing field that might put them in a position where they can score now.
Center fielder, Mookie Wilson.
So Felix is at first base, Soho is at second, and Mookie Wilson is the batter. Mookie is flied to left and struck out.
Mookie hasn't been able to catch up with that breaking ball tonight. He's fouled off that fastball a couple of times and then stung it on a line into left to Brady, but he's not been able to touch that hook. It's like a Greg Olson kind of breaking ball tonight.
Another breaking ball and a chopper off the plate, and this is going to be trouble. Bill Ripken can't get him. The 2 choppers off home plate, and the Blue Jays have loaded the bases.
How about back-to-back breaks right there off the plate? The only chance to get Wilson would have been if Billy Jr. or Billy at second base could have caught this ball right here before it hit the ground. But he had to wait for it. And that's all it took for Mookie and his speed to get down to first base. It's a very close play anyway. But you can see right there clearly, if he touched the base right there, he beat the play.
Now Tony Fernandez comes up with the bases loaded and 1 out. Soho reached on a fielder's choice as he failed on a sacrifice bunt attempt. And then Felix hit a chopper off the plate and beat it out. And now Wilson has hit a chopper and legged it out to load the bases. Tony Fernandez has struck out and walked. Strike 1.
Well, you just can't factor those kinds of base hits into your stint out there on the mound.
5:45 with the bases loaded.
That's one of the best averages I've seen with the bases loaded this late in the year that I can recall.
Ben turns it up a notch and blows it by him at about 95 miles an hour.
He certainly did. There was a whoosh at the plate when that thing zoomed by.
No score, top of the 5th. Bases loaded and 1 out. 0-2 the count to Fernandez.
That fastball must have come in with a roar.
Ooh, Ben wanted that one. And it's 1-2. Luis Soho is at third, Junior Felix at second, and Mookie Wilson at first. 3 fast runners. Pretty good pitch. Breaking ball, got him. Ben not only threw him a curveball, he took a little off. He changed speeds in the breaking ball.
Yeah, you could tell that with the way Fernandez jumped at the pitch. Didn't have his usual good swing up there. It's all arms, all hands and arms there in that swing. No body behind it at all.
That's the 5th strikeout for Ben Mcdonald, and that takes away the possibility of a sacrifice fly. But another good hitter up now in Kelly Gruber, who is the American League Player of the Month for September. Strike 1 to Gruber. In September, Kelly hit .352 with 8 homers and 30 runs batted in. He's been on fire. He saw a 15-game hitting streak end on Friday.
Yeah, he's eager and he's aggressive, and often you've got to keep the ball out of the middle of the plate, just like Ben did on that first pitch to him.
He's hitting .500 with the bases loaded. Fastball high and away, and it's 1-1 to Gruber. Gruber strikes out quite a bit, 94 times. But he's been a very productive hitter. 118 runs batted in. Breaking ball is tapped foul, and it's 1-2. Score, top of the 5th inning. Ben Mcdonald trying to work himself out of a bases-loaded jam. Ground ball on the right side. Bill Ripken has it over to first, and McDonald pitches himself out of it. Houdini couldn't have done a better job. And the Blue Jays leave the bases loaded. Still no score. Let's go to Tom.
Telling you, Mel, the fans are really enthusiastic about this kid, Ben Mcdonald. And when you think about that he missed the first half of the season and he's bidding for his 9th win here tonight, you double that. That's 18 victories, and it puts the Orioles right almost even with Toronto or the Boston Red Sox. So Ben Mcdonald, if he's healthy all next year, the Orioles certainly will have established themselves as the #1 starter, and they've lacked that a long, long time here in Baltimore, ever since Palmer retired. I think that would be the key phrase right there. We're going to take a look now at the Washington Post scoreboard, right up to date now. The Boston Red Sox continue to lead the Chicago White Sox 3-0 in the fifth inning. RBI single from Dewey Evans, and then Tom Bernanski tripled to right center to knock in Evans. Then Tony Pena tried to sacrifice, or actually lay down a squeeze, and it didn't work. They threw the ball way down the left field line. Bernanski scored from third. Boddicker against Alex Fernandez. If Boston wins, they take the division title for the third time since 1986. Cecil Fielder hit his 50th home run. Let's go back upstairs down to Mel Proctor, and I think Mel's got that all ready for us. Mel?
All right, Tom, it is time for a Miller highlight. Cecil Fielder's 50th home run of the year came tonight at Yankee Stadium facing Steve Atkins of the Yankees. Fielder sends it deep to the upper deck at Yankee Stadium, number 50. He becomes the first major leaguer to hit 50 home runs in a season since George Foster, who hit 52 for the Reds in 1977. Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle, the Yankees, were the last American leaguers to hit 50 or more. Maris hit 61 and Mantle 54 in 1961. But Cecil Fielder strolling around the bases after hitting his 50th.
Oh, it's quite an accomplishment indeed. See where he hit that ball?
Oh, upper tank. There really wasn't that much interest in him. He said he heard the Tigers didn't even bother to send anybody over to scout him. He's been the bargain of the year. 1.5 million, total of $3 million over 2 years. Mcdonald pitched himself out of a bases-loaded jam in the top of the fifth inning, so we are still scoreless as we go to the bottom of the fifth. It'll be Mickey Tettleton, Mike Devereaux, and Jeff McKnight coming up to face Dave Steeb, who has been near perfect tonight, allowing only one hit, a two-out double to Billy Ripken in the third inning. The Red Sox lead the White Sox 3-0 in the fifth inning at Fenway Park. Mickey Tettleton, 0 for 1, popped to second his first time up. Mickey's now second in the major leagues in walks, trailing Mark McGwire of Oakland. He has 106 walks. McGwire has 109. One ball and one strike to Tettleton. Dave Steeb had some real good years in the early 80s. He won 17 games in 1982 and again in 83, won 16 games in 84. And then in 1986, he developed some elbow problems, stopped throwing that nasty slider for a while. He felt that the slider was causing the elbow problems. Bounced back somewhat in 1987, going 13-9. And then 2 years ago, he was 16-8. Last year, he was 17-8. And this year, won 18 games for the first time in his career. This is his fourth try at 19 wins.
Yeah, it's been disappointing for him that he hasn't been able to corral that 20th victory this year. Needless to say, number 19.
3-2 to Mickey Tettleton, leading off the bottom of the fifth. Steve has not walked anybody, and he struck out 4. Time called. To the first baseman, and Fred Mcgriff makes the unassisted play. Mcgriff, who's third in the league in fielding, not really known too much for his defense, known more for his power. He's not in the class with Don Mattingly or Pete O'Brien as far as his glove work, but he does an adequate job. Mike Devereaux hit a comebacker to the pitcher his first time up. But Devereaux contributed with his defense in the fourth inning when George Bell hit a gapper into left center, and Devereaux cut it off and threw him out at second, trying to stretch a single into a double. That was a big play. 0-1 to Devereaux. 1 ball, 1 strike. Frank Robinson has said that Devereaux is finally playing like Frank thought he was capable of playing. He feels he's a guy who could hit 275, 280, maybe 15 to 20 home runs, steal quite a few bases, and play an outstanding defense in center field. Ground ball to the shortstop. Tony Fernandez with a quick toss to first to take care of Devereaux.
Well, it's going to take an effort bordering on brilliance to win this game tonight from the mound. I think we're seeing that from both pitchers, but they're getting the defensive plays from them, as you mentioned, Mel, and that's what it's going to take to win a game like this.
Fernandez last year set a major league fielding record with only 6 errors and a .992 fielding percentage. He handled 741 total chances. Cal Ripken is on the verge of breaking those 2 records, but Cal entered tonight's game having handled only 676 chances. Say only, that's comparatively speaking, relative to Fernandez with 741 last year.
Yeah, but I think you also have to factor in the lousy breaks you have a tendency of getting on a natural turf field as respect to an artificial surface that Fernandez plays on. But let's face it, 3 errors or 5 or 6 errors in a season is just outstanding defensive play.
Slider for a strike, and it's 1-2 to Jeff McKnight. Cal Ripken could commit 2 errors tonight and still break the record. He has only 3 errors. Slider is grounded up the first baseline, foul. Two outs, nobody on. Bottom of the 5th. No score. Fastball hit in the air down the left field line, but peeling back foul. Dave Steve has allowed no runs on 1 hit. He struck out 4 and walked none. He and Ben Mcdonald are hooked up in a classic pitcher's duel. McKnight this year at Rochester hit .280 with 7 home runs. There's that nasty slider, but it's low. 2-2. Fastball is grounded up the middle. Luis Sojo makes the pickup and throws out McKnight. The Orioles go in order, and at the end of 5 innings, it's the Orioles nothing and the Blue Jays nothing. The Patrick Division champion Capitals are back on home team sports for more than 30 live and exclusive games this season, beginning this Friday against the Pittsburgh Penguins and Saturday against the Detroit Red Wings, both live on home team sports. But tonight, the Orioles are wrapping up the regular season, and Ben Mcdonald and Dave Steve are hooked up in a dandy. No scores. We go to the 6th. And Big Ben will face Fred McGriff, George Bell, and John Olerud of Toronto. The Blue Jays loaded the bases as Luis Sojo reached on a fielder's choice, and then Junior Felix beat out a chopper off home plate. Mookie Wilson did the same thing to load the bases, but then Ben Mcdonald struck out Tony Fernandez and got Kelly Gruber on a ground out to end the inning. Great job of pitching by the young right-hander. Fred McGriff is 0 for 2. He was called out on strikes in the 2nd, flied to center in the 4th. McGriff slumped badly late last season. He had just 1 homer in his last 24 games last year, was hitless in the League Championship Series against Oakland, and didn't have an extra base hit after September the 13th.
Well, McDonald's not providing any dinner at the bird feed table, but McGriff is the one guy that he has to be careful of.
1 ball, 1 strike to McGriff. Dave Johnson made a mistake on him last night and left the ball up out over the plate, and he whacked it into the Toronto bullpen to give the Blue Jays a victory.
Yeah, that's his kill zone, too.
That was his first home run in 3 weeks. 1-2 to McGriff.
What's amazing, you know, he hits around 300. With a tremendous arc on that swing that he uses to hit the ball out.
High fly ball, deep right center field. Devereaux at the wall to make the catch. Hey, Ben Mcdonald got away with a mistake. If we take a look at a replay, you'll see the catcher, Mickey Tettleton, call for a fastball away, and that pitch was almost right down the middle, and he was lucky. He got away with a mistake.
Well, it takes a hitter with tremendous bat speed just to catch up with that hard fastball, but used up every foot of the playing field there. He's got such tremendous carry on his ball that, you know, for a second I thought that this ball was going to carry beyond the fence like it did last night when he hit that one off of Dave Johnson.
Mike Devereaux makes the catch up against the fence, and there's one out. Breaking ball for a strike to George Bell. Bell has 2 of the 5 Toronto hits tonight. He singled in the second inning, then hit a ball in the left center field alley in the 4th, and Mike Devereaux cut him down at second base, trying to turn it into a double. 2 breaking balls, and it's 0-2. George is a good fastball hitter and may not see one as long as Mcdonald can stay ahead in the count. He may see one, but out of the strike zone.
Well, I bet he feels like he can hit one out tonight, too, as well as he's swinging.
He's still not hitting for power. Another breaking ball, and he went around, but the ball gets by Tettleton. And Bell is safe at first. So Bell strikes out, but he reaches first base as the pitch got away from Tettleton. It'll be either a wild pitch or a pass ball.
Well, that's a big-time break right there, but it's such a bad pitch to begin with.
It's a wild pitch.
And he swings at it, but the ball caroms off of Mickey Tettleton's body there, almost back to the screen. And by the time he retrieves it, Bell's at first. It is tough to square up even behind the plate with those breaking balls because you're not really too sure which direction they're going to kick. Usually they'll come back at you.
So Mcdonald gets credit for his 6th strikeout, but is charged with a wild pitch. The Blue Jays get a break, and let's see if they can take advantage of it. With 1 out, John Olaru's the hitter. Strike 1.
So you got 2 breaks last, and then we had 2 of those balls bounding up off the home plate. Got a couple of speedy base runners on.
See, the impressive thing about Mcdonald, one of the impressive things is that he doesn't let things like that bother him. He's able to maintain his focus and concentration. Those 2 bleeder hits in the 5th inning would have bothered a lot of pitchers. But he pitched himself out of the bases-loaded jam. Olerud pops it up on the left side. Worthington and Cal Ripken giving chase. Cal calls off Craig and makes the catch. 2 outs. George Bell at one time in his career ran pretty well, but had some leg problems in recent years. Doesn't look to run very often now. He has 3 stolen bases and 5 attempts this year. Pat Borders has been on base twice with a walk, and he flared a single into right field in the 5th inning. He pops it up. This could be trouble. Finley coming hard to make the catch. In the 6th inning, no runs, no hits, and 1 man left at the end of 5 1/2. The Orioles and Blue Jays are still scoreless, and let's go back to Tom.
You want to talk about superstitions? I went over to try to locate Ben Mcdonald's father for the camera crew here at Home Team Sports, just to make sure they knew where exactly he was sitting. And that fly ball that went right to the base of the wall, he says, "Get out of here, Tom, get out of here, you're bringing us bad luck." The ball was caught, and he relaxed a little bit after that. Ben Mcdonald's father in this game every pitch of the way, no doubt about it. In fact, it seems like he's pitching up there in the seats every pitch of the way. All right, we're going to have to go back upstairs. Apparently, we've got a little problem here with the microphone. Let me see if does that help out any bit? No. Okay, let's go back upstairs. We've got a little problem with the microphone. Still Boston by a 3-0 lead in their 6th inning. Let's go back to Mel and John.
All right, Tom. We are scoreless as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. The Orioles will be setting up Craig Worthington. Steve Finley to face Dave Stieb. Both teams have had scoring opportunities, particularly the Blue Jays in the last 2 innings. They left the bases loaded in the 5th, and Fred Mcgriff just missed a home run that died at the wall leading off the 6th inning.
You know, Dave Stieb allows on average 4 more base runners per 9 innings than does Ben Mcdonald, but Stieb has been the one to keep people off the bases tonight.
The Orioles have really had only 1 scoring opportunity. That was in the 3rd inning when Bill Ripken doubled into the right field corner with 2 outs. But then Steve Finley grounded out, and they left him at second base. He's the only base runner the Orioles have had tonight.
So in that specific area, Dave Stieb had to improve to show some chance of winning this game, and he's done it.
Steve has a 1-hitter going tonight. He had a no-hitter in early September in Cleveland. But he's also lost no-hit bids with 1 out to go against the Orioles in September of 1988 and the Yankees in August of last year. He had a perfect game bid against the Yankees before he gave up a double to Roberto Kelly. But prior to pitching the no-hitter against the Indians, on 4 occasions he had gone into the 9th and not come away with a no-hitter.
Well, this game has the makings of an old-fashioned tractor pull. We can see that with Mcdonald and the way that Dave Stieb is pitching this evening.
Greg Worthington will lead off the bottom of the 6th. Worthington grounded to first, his first time up against Stieb. Been a long drought for Worthington without a home run since July 28th. Really missed his power and his run-producing ability this year.
It's been a puzzle now. I'm sure no one has been able to figure out where it's gone. This might be one of those years you can write off.
Stieb is behind for one of the few times tonight as he goes 2-0 to Worthington. He's been able to throw his breaking ball when he's been behind the count tonight. 3-0. Stieb doesn't walk many. He's walked only 64 and 201 and 2/3 innings. Called strike, 3-1.
Well, he's not out there giving good night kisses. He'll challenge you with his best stuff. And you've got to make up your mind at the plate. You can drill it. Look at that.
Changeup in for a strike, and it's 3-2. A 3-1 change.
You can't figure.
Broken bat roller to Kelly Gruber at third. 1 out. Good job of pitching there by Stieb after falling behind in the count. 3-0. He came back to get Worthington.
Second baseman, Ripken.
Stieb retired the first 8 batters to start the game, then gave up a 2-out double to Billy Ripken in the 3rd. And since then, he's retired 8 in a row, and Bill Ripken comes up again. He has the only hit off Stieb tonight. No score, bottom of the 6th inning. Ball 1. Billy will occasionally try to bunt for a base hit.
Well, nobody expects he's going to bunt here.
He hits it into center field. Mookie Wilson broke in, but can't recover, and it's over his head. Billy Ripken goes to second and will stop as Wilson misjudged the drive to center. Mookie came in on that ball and then slammed on the brakes and tried to sprint back, but it was too late.
Well, that's the last place you want to see it hit, is over your head if you're playing center field. Because you're the one who can't afford to misjudge anything out there, because you got to run the longest distance to catch up with the ball again. You're probably fortunate that they didn't have a real speedy base runner hit that ball, because that would have been a sure triple. Dave knows it's going to be 2 bases here. He's disgusted.
We mentioned before that sometimes he will let things like that bother him.
Yep.
When a fielder doesn't make a play that should have been made, it eats at him. scored as a double. Steve Finley came up in the same situation with 2 outs in the third and grounded out to end the inning. He hits it into center field. Back goes Wilson again. It's over his head. Bill Ripken around third, heading home, and he will score. Finley's on his way to third, and the Orioles take the lead 1-0.
Just what I was saying, Mel, you cannot afford to have a ball hit over your head. If you're playing center field in an important game like this, it's going to be a triple with a fast runner. A fast runner hit it, and he got 3 bases. But most importantly, Dave Stieb has seen his ball club put behind on 2 extra base hits.
Here's Steve's reaction to the second hit.
He knows it's trouble, and he's heading into the baseline now.
Double by Bill Ripken, a triple by Steve Finley, and the Orioles have the lead 1-0.
He figures Finley earned that one, but maybe not the first one.
Brady Anderson is up with 1 out and a runner at third. The Blue Jays bring the infield in with the exception of Mcgriff at first. He stays back. Brady fists it foul out of play. One run, 3 hits, 1 error for the Orioles. No runs, 5 hits, no errors for Toronto. Called strike 2. Brady will be trying to hit the ball in the air somewhere. Finley, a fast runner at third. It's not going to have to be hit too deep to score him. The only real good arm in the outfield is in right field, Junior Felix. Neither Wilson nor Bell throws particularly well. 1-2. With men in scoring position this year, Brady Anderson is hitting .288. Grounded foul. The Orioles can get another run and go up 2-0. The way Ben Mcdonald is pitching, it could be enough. Swing and a miss, and down goes Brady Anderson. He strikes out on a high fastball. That's the 5th strikeout for Dave Stieb.
That was a test for Dave Stieb, his batter up at the plate now. He had to regain some of that momentum he was on before those 2 extra base hits.
Cal Ripken comes up with 2 outs and a runner at third.
But let's face it, one could have been caught. One was a legitimate extra base hit that Finley tripled, but you know, he could have been still in a position where this game could have been tied.
Nobody throwing in the bullpen right now for Toronto, but Galen Cisco, the pitching coach, is going out to Steve, who may be injured.
Well, nobody's going to be stalking around out there in the bullpen wanting to come into this game. This is Dave's to earn.
Looks like Steve is going to take some tosses to make sure he's okay here.
He may have strained his shoulder a little bit. He's still got good velocity. Sometimes he can throw it by somebody up there, especially a left hand. Looks like he pulled something in the small of his back, maybe on the side there. Thing is, every time you release the ball, if you pull something there, it's going to be nagging at you each and every time. But it occurs after you throw the ball.
He's going to try to continue. Well, the Orioles lead 1-0. Bill Ripken hit a drive to center, which Mookie Wilson misjudged and played into a double. And the next man up, Steve Finley, drilled one over Wilson's head for a triple to score Billy. And it's 1-0 Orioles. Cal Ripken has flied to right and struck out. Cal is 13 for 63 lifetime against Steve. He's not hit him well. Ball one. Steve threw one close to him earlier. You can see Steve is still grimacing and twisting. And back obviously is bothering him.
Well, if it's bothering him as he's making the pitch and not after he throws the ball, then he's going to have some problems.
Called strike, and it's 1-1.
Well, that looked like a sympathy call right there.
And we get some activity in the Toronto bullpen. They want to have somebody ready in case Steve can't continue. Dwayne Ward is throwing.
It'd be a shame if he had to come out because he's still got outstanding stuff.
Popped up foul. 1-2 to Cal Ripken. Dwayne Ward getting ready in the pen. Steve has allowed 1 run on 3 hits. He's walked none and struck out 5. Cal hits it up the middle. Soho backhands it over to first. Got him. Fine play by Luis Soho, and the Orioles leave a runner at third, but they take the lead. And at the end of 6, it's 1-0 in favor of the Orioles, and you're watching Orioles baseball on the Home Team Sports Cable Network. Classic. And at 7:30, hockey as the Caps skate against the Detroit Red Wings, all live and exclusive on Home Team Sports. Well, Ben Mcdonald and the Orioles leading 1-0. Blue Jays have had opportunities tonight. They've left 8 men on base, including the bases loaded in the 5th inning. Ben has allowed no runs on 5 hits. He's walked 2 and struck out 6. For the Blue Jays, it'll be Luis Soho, Junior Felix, and Mookie Wilson to face McDonald in the 7th inning. So far has thrown 92 pitches. Soho, first ball hitting, sends it to deep center, but Mike Devereaux is back and makes the catch.
Well, that's probably Luis's best bolt right there. And you'd need a 95-mile-an-hour heater to generate that kind of distance. But it's not likely you're going to hit too many balls over these outfielders' heads, especially this late in the game.
With 1 out, Junior Felix comes up. He's lined to third and beat out an infield hit in the 5th. And you've always got to be aware of the possibility of a bunt with him up.
Well, that's why Worthington's in on the grass, and why if you're playing first, you have to anticipate that he might drag it.
He'll not only drag bunt, he'll also square around like he's going to bunt and then swing and execute the swinging bunt. Ball 1.
You're right, man. It looked like he might have wanted to slap that one right there. Usually you slap it back at the third baseman because he's so close in on you. He's eyeballing Worthington down at third too.
called strike, 1-1. Felix, one of 5 switch hitters on the team, along with Tony Fernandez, Manny Lee, Mookie Wilson, and Mark Whitten. One and two. And now with 2 strikes on Felix, Worthington will move back at third base. Breaking ball, got him. Strikeout number 7 for Ben Mcdonald.
Oh, you can hang a banner on that pitch tonight. And he's had a, he's had terrific location on this pitch too. He's kept everything right down around the ankles.
Mookie Wilson is up with 2 outs and the base is empty, and he takes a breaking ball strike. Mookie, I'm sure, would like to atone for misjudging Bill Ripken's drive in the 6th inning. That went for a double, and then he scored on Steve Finley's triple. Fastball strike, 0-2.
Look how effortlessly Ben Mcdonald is pitching right now. There's no oomph in his work at all right now. It's real easy and right over the top.
Curveball is grounded back of first, but foul.
Quite often when you throw that hard, the tendency is to put more behind those pitches than you really need. You see that often from Nolan Ryan when he's throwing that good fastball of his and that breaking ball he throws off his heater. But you don't see that from Ben. So fluid and effortless on the mound.
Frank Robinson was talking earlier this year about the comparison between Ben Mcdonald and some of the other great pitchers that come along, like Nolan Ryan and Roger Clemens and Sandy Koufax, and he said at this stage of his career he's got better control than those pitchers had. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The Blue Jays anxious in the dugout. Buddy Black was the winning pitcher last night. Breaking ball, another chopper off the plate. They'll never get him. The second time in the game that Wilson has beaten out a chop, and that's the 3rd chop off home plate that's resulted in a base hit tonight.
It's a helpless feeling because you know it's going to be a base hit as soon as it makes contact with a rubber on that home plate. Boom, it's a base hit right now. Not even in the picture it's so high. Ben figures he's got as good a chance as anyone of getting this ball and throwing him out, but when he looks over there, Wilson's already standing on first.
This would seem to be a running situation for the Blue Jays with 2 outs and Wilson at first. He represents the tying run.
Well, if that's the case, then you'd like to run on the 1st or 2nd pitch because Mcdonald is not giving hitters much at the plate in the way of getting ahead in the count.
Mookie Wilson has 23 stolen bases. He's been caught only 4 times. One run, 3 hits, and 1 error for the Orioles. No runs, 6 hits, no errors for Toronto. Tony Fernandez has struck out twice and walked tonight.
Well, anytime though, Mel, you're only down by a run, and we've seen it all season long. With a 1-run lead there, the opponent always has a chance to get right back in it.
Mookie stays put, and the fastball is high. 1-0 to Fernandez. Mookie Wilson is still pretty spry for a 34-year-old with 23 steals this year. Last year he had 19. Stole 58 and 82 with the Mets, but he's not running, and it's 2-0 to Fernandez. Looked like Ben might have been rushing those pitches to the plate because he was aware of Wilson at first. Wanted to be quick to the plate, but he was too quick.
Yeah, just the thought of someone on first base who's got his kind of speed sometimes make you, hurry toward the plate, but that's not necessary for Ben because the runner at first really means nothing. He's got to get the hitter out to get out of the inning.
Ball 3. 3-0 to Tony Fernandez. 2 outs in the 7th. The Orioles lead 1-0, and Kelly Gruber is on deck. Ball 4. So Ben running into some problems. First an infield hit by Wilson. Now he walks Fernandez.
Well, the fluke hit has set up this inning for them. And now that Ben has briefly lost his rhythm on the mound. Now a real tough customer comes up there, someone who is used to seeing people on base.
You don't want to go to the well too many times with Kelly Gruber, who grounded out with the bases loaded in the 5th, and Al Jackson is on the phone to the bullpen.
Well, he's calling Digger Dan the backhoe man. That might be the requirement to get out of this inning.
Mcdonald worked himself out of a bases loaded situation in the 5th. Gruber is 0 for 3, has only 1 hit in the series. That came in the first game. A drive to left center field, and deep. Brady Anderson has it. Well, Ben gets out of another scrape. No runs, 1 hit, 2 left. It's still 1-0 Orioles. We go to the bottom of the 7th, and let's go back to Tom.
Well, Mel, we're going to update you again on the Boston-Chicago game. The Red Sox leading still 3-0. The game now in the bottom half of the 6th inning as everybody stands and stretches here for the 7th inning stretch for the last time here at Baltimore's Memorial Stadium for 1990. And their next to last season-ending stretch here. Tom Bernansky had an RBI triple that knocked in Dewey Evans. Evans had a single that produced the first Boston run. And then Tony Pena tried a suicide squeeze, missed, but they threw the ball into shallow left field, and Bernansky was able to score from third. It's Boddicker against Alex Fernandez. A Boston win automatically gives them the American League East. Toronto lost without a Boston win would give the Red Sox the American League East. Boddicker's been pitching real well, shutout baseball, trying for his 6th win in a row and his 17th this season. Cecil Fielder hit his 50th home run tonight. George Brett won the batting title with a .329 average in the American League. Willie McGee takes the National League batting title with a .335 average. And the Cardinals finish in last place for the first time since 1918. The A's with the most wins in baseball this season with 103. They finished 103 and 59. Since this is the last Washington Post or Miller highlight portion of Home Team Sports for 1990, just want to mention that I've enjoyed working with Mel and John one more time for 7 years. It's been a real joy, and we'll be back a little bit later on for the post-game ceremonies, and hopefully it'll be with Ben Mcdonald. Mel, enjoyed it again one more time. Let's go back upstairs.
And we've enjoyed it as well, Tom. I was getting a little anxious there. 7 years, I figured Tom might be getting the 7-year itch. Might ask for a divorce, but I guess he'll stay with us. Does a great job.
It's been nice eating with him.
Well, Dave, Steve, despite some back problems in the 6th inning, that comes out for the 7th. Steve was breezing along. He had allowed only 1 hit. He'd retired 8 in a row, going to the 6th with 1 out when Bill Ripken hit a drive to center field. Mookie Wilson broke in on the ball, misjudged it, then tried to hustle back and make the catch, but it sailed over his head for a double. And the next man up, Steve Finley, belted one over Wilson's head for a triple, scoring Billy Ripken. And that's been the only run in the game.
You'd have to yank him off the mound to get him out of this game. He knows the importance of what it is that he has to accomplish. And quite frankly, the longer you hang around out there, more likely your team is going to be able to put something on the board as well as they can hit. But Ben Mcdonald has stifled his ball club.
Kurt Schilling is throwing in the Oriole bullpen.
I give a special hello to Frank Campanella, who watches every Orioles games on Home Team Sport. Having surgery tomorrow at Georgetown Hospital, so we want to wish him well.
All right, John, for the Orioles, the bottom of the 7th, Sam Horn, Mickey Tettleton, and Mike Devereaux to face Dave Steve. Horn is flied to left and struck out. The outfield swung around to the right and playing deep with Horn up. Bell, the left, is playing him straight away. And he lifts it in the air to shallow left. Bell coming in hard, and he's got it. George kind of circled around that ball.
But that's the best way for him to play the outfield, as I mentioned earlier on. Play deep and then just come in on everything. And you don't get wrapped up in trying to go two different directions to catch balls. That's how he can improve his play out there. I'm sure it's been recognized by him or the coaching staff.
The Red Sox and White Sox are now in the 7th inning at Fenway Park with Boston leading 3-0.
He cannot push anything across against junk baller Mike Boddicker. He knows the meaning of important games himself.
Boddicker 16-8 going into that game. He'll be eligible to file for free agency at the conclusion of this season. Mickey Tettleton takes a slider inside. Mick is popped to second and grounded to first. One ball and one strike. Steve has now thrown 100 pitches. On the corner, and it's 1-2. Orioles 1, Blue Jays nothing. Bottom of the 7th. Two balls, two strikes. From Toronto's standpoint, the outcome of this game may be meaningless if the White Sox can't beat Boston tonight, and the Red Sox have a 3-0 lead.
Well, that's the position they put themselves in when they lost the first game.
Tettleton is called out on strikes. That's the 160th time he has struck out this year.
Well, I don't know what Mick was looking for that time at bat. He took two pitches right there that he could have clobbered.
He has obliterated the old club strikeout mark, and he's also set a new major league mark for most strikeouts by a switch hitter in a season. Mike Devereaux bangs one in the hole for a base hit. That's only the 4th hit off Dave Steve. And as the Blue Jays had what appeared to be a running situation in the 7th, so do the Orioles now with Devereaux on. Steve's tough to run on, though. For a right-hander, he's got a great move. Does a good job of holding runners. Jeff McKnight has flied to left and grounded to second. Devereaux has a big lead and draws a throw. Mike has 13 stolen bases, but he's been caught 12 times. He has not run as effectively as he did last year when he had 22 stolen bases.
But they're leading right now, and there's 2 outs. There's a left-handed hitter up there for some protection. They're thinking the same thing you were.
The Blue Jays pitch out. And it's 1-0 to McKnight. Well, it's getting cold in the bullpen. They're breaking out the coffee. At least I think it's coffee. Devereaux was almost leaning.
But you see how quick Steve is to first base. He's almost as quick to the plate.
Devereaux stretches out to a big lead. Steve throws over again. Steve does all the things the pitcher has to do to win. In addition to having great stuff and good control, he fields his position very well. Does a good job of holding runners.
Very few pitchers go to first base 3 consecutive times.
Devereaux is running, and McKnight hits it foul.
So if you know that, then you can just guess and run with the first move that Steve makes and just take off and take a risk. It would have worked.
from Boston. The Red Sox are still ahead 3-0. But the White Sox have runners at first and second with nobody out.
They hit one on the net.
Here at Memorial Stadium, the Orioles lead the Toronto Blue Jays 1-0 in the bottom of the 7th. 2 outs and Mike Devereaux at first. Two balls and 1 strike.
Steve is not grimacing after every pitch. So maybe he's recovered slightly from what appeared to be a slight back strain he was afflicted with last inning. Or maybe it's mind over matter right now.
Last year, Devereaux had 22 stolen bases and was caught 11 times. He had 4 years in the minor leagues where he stole 30 or more bases. He's really fast. He's a former Wyoming State sprint champ in the 100 and 220. Close play, and he's picked off at first. So Dave Steve picks off Mike Devereaux to end the inning.
Well, he never got back, and it certainly was worth a try. He extended that league out about as far as he could. Well, look at that. Never got back.
That ends the 7th inning with the Orioles ahead 1-0. Welcome back to Memorial Stadium. Mel Proctor along with John Lowenstein and Tom Davis. Ben Mcdonald takes a shutout into the 8th inning, leading 1-0. And we understand Cecil Fielder of the Tigers in New York has hit his 2nd home run of the game, his 51st of the year. And at Fenway Park in Boston, the White Sox have loaded the bases with 1 out in the 7th, but the Red Sox lead 3-0.
They need a granny. I like to see the anguish of those Sox fans every single year up there in Boston. Does them good.
Mcgriff leads off the 8th inning. He almost hit the ball out of here in the 6th inning. Hit a long drive to right center. Backed Mike Devereaux up against the fence to make the catch.
As you said, Mel, the results in that game up there are moot unless the Jays can win here. 6 outs to go.
Breaking ball low to Mcgriff. Ben Mcdonald has 2 shutouts this year. In his first major league start, July 21st here at Memorial Stadium, he blanked the White Sox 2-0. Then his last start in Cleveland, he shut out the Indians 2-0 on 4 hits. But he's behind on Mcgriff, 2-0. Mcdonald has allowed no runs on 6 hits. He's walked 3 and struck out 7. Three balls and no strikes. We have activity in the Orioles bullpen. Kurt Schilling and Kevin Hickey are both throwing.
Well, you let a big hitter like Mcgriff swing on 3-0 if he gets his pitch? Sure.
Swinging away, and he comes through with a base hit.
Didn't get the elevation, but he got a result.
The Blue Jays have not lacked for opportunities. They've had men on base in every inning but the first, and have stranded 10 men so far. The right-hander Kurt Schilling, the left-hander Kevin Hickey up in the bullpen. And the fans are responding to the announcement that Cecil Fielder has hit his 2nd home run and his 51st of the year. George Bell is up for the 4th time. He's been on base 3 times with 2 singles. He struck out on a curveball in the dirt in the 6th, but reached on a wild pitch. Strike 1. Ben Mcdonald has been an escape artist tonight. He worked himself out of a situation in second with runners at first and second. And then wiggled out of a bases loaded jam in the fifth. Big swing by Bell, and it's 0-2. Ben has fed him a steady diet of breaking stuff tonight. He struck him out on a curveball in the sixth. That was the pitch was in the dirt. And Bell reached safely as the ball got by the catcher.
But when you've got one of the best fastball hitters in the game, you're not likely to throw him something you can drill.
The White Sox have scored a run, and the Red Sox now lead 3-1 in the seventh inning at Fenway. Another curveball, and it's fouled back. I think Bell's bat clipped Mickey Tettleton on the elbow on the backswing. George is a very aggressive hitter. He stands right on top of the plate. And when he is hot, I mean, he's a very imposing sight at the plate. He's up there hanging right over the plate. When he gets hot, he can carry a team for a month. Mcgriff at first, nobody out. 1-0 Orioles in the eighth inning. Strike out that often, but he struck out twice tonight.
That's not a luxury that you can expect him to strike out, but he was going one way and that breaking ball was going the other. That left front leg was pulling out and that curveball was going away from him.
And the 8 strikeouts tonight for Ben Mcdonald are a major league career high.
He swung on the same plane, but the ball just wasn't there for him to hit.
He had struck out 7 on 2 previous occasions. Olerud comes up with 1 out and a runner at first. He's 0 for 3. And he smokes one to deep right field. Back goes Steve Finley, and this one is gone. And the Blue Jays take the lead. Rookie John Olerud's 2-run homer gives Toronto a 2-1 lead, his 14th home run of the year.
Well, he hadn't been hitting much lately, but I'll tell you what, he doesn't swing like a rookie. He has learned big league pitching this year as quick as anyone in their first year. I mean, he literally crushes this ball. He smoked it. And it was on a line out there to right field, too. No, not much air time involved. Then Mcdonald chambered that fastball into his grip, and the batter liberated it from the park.
So things are looking up for the Blue Jays. In Boston, the White Sox have scored a run to cut the Red Sox advantage to 3-1. And here at Memorial Stadium, Toronto has taken the lead on John Olerud's home run. Pat Borders is up now with 1 out. He takes a curveball for a strike.
See how quickly the flow can change when you got people who can hit the ball in the seats.
Olerud has hit close to 400 against the Orioles this year. Breaking ball low. Ben Mcdonald came into this game having not allowed a run in 16 consecutive innings. He shut out the Blue Jays through 7 to run his string to 23 straight innings without a run, but Olerud takes him deep. Half swing foul ball. Two runs, 7 hits for Toronto. 1 run, 4 hits, and 1 error for the Orioles. And the picture brightening in the Toronto dugout. Curveball misses inside, 1-2. Stottlemyre is throwing in the bullpen for the Blue Jays. Ground ball foul wide of third base. sailing along with a shutout into the 8th inning. Gave up a leadoff single to Mcgriff, and then 2 batters later, John Olerud parked one. Fastball, got him. Ben's piling up the strikeouts tonight. That's 9 Ks for him.
You don't see many hard throwers like Ben who sustain the zip that he has on his fastball through all 9 innings. He's in there through 9. Certainly not with this kind of accuracy.
Luis Sojo comes up with 2 outs in the 8th inning. Toronto leading 2-1. Ball 1. Up off third base. Worthington with room. And that ends the inning, but Toronto takes the lead on a 2-run blast by John Olerud. The end of 7 1/2. It's now the Blue Jays 2 and the Orioles 1.
I just found out I have to replace my furnace. Who did yours?
I had Sears take care of it.
Including installation?
Sure. They arrange installation of all their home improvement products. They did my air conditioning.
You guarantee their work?
Sears guarantees their work, and they finance it too. Call them for an estimate. It's free.
Thanks for the hot tip.
Sears Home Improvements. Professionally installed, satisfaction guaranteed, or your money back. Sears Home Improvement Professional. The most trusted name around the house.
Monday nights at 6:30, tune in to Home Team Sports for the Washington Post Sports Talk, a weekly program featuring Washington Post sports columnists and guests, plus interviews with fans on the street about the hot topics in sports. Every Monday night at 6:30, it's the Washington Post Sports Talk.
Memorial Stadium, where John Olerud's 2-run homer has given the Blue Jays a 2-1 lead, a new life in the American League East. But in Boston, the Red Sox have a 3-1 lead over the White Sox in the 8th inning. Ben Mcdonald and Dave Steve have both pitched well tonight. Steve has been the sharper of the two. He's allowed only 4 hits. Mcdonald worked himself out of several scrapes throughout the game. Blue Jays had runners on base in every inning but the first. But Ben still took a shutout into the 8th inning before giving up the 2-run homer.
Neither one of these pitchers have held anything back tonight. They've let it all fly. Dave Steve has been especially creative in the way he's used all his pitches.
For the Orioles in the bottom of the 8th inning, it'll be Jeff McKnight, Craig Worthington, and Bill Ripken, the bottom of the order, to face Dave Steve. He's allowed 1 run on 4 hits. He's walked none and struck out 6. Well, that score can't be correct because the White Sox scored a run. 3-1. Okay. Jeff Reardon is now in the game for the Red Sox. Reardon wasn't expected back after undergoing back surgery, but we saw him pitch here. He wasn't all the way back, but they got him some work, gradually worked him in, and now using him regularly out of the bullpen again.
He's the Red Sox's Terminator.
Little pop fly into left center, and that's going to fall in for a base hit. So McKnight leads off the 8th with a single, and the tying run is aboard.
Nothing comes easy in a big game. We want the Orioles to a man relish this moment of opportunity they got before them, where they can have a distinct bearing on who wins or loses what in the American League East. Some pole sitters out there.
Stanley Snyder on the left, Greg Olson in the middle, and Kurt Schilling on the right. The Terminator, Tom Hankey, gets up in the bullpen. Worthington has laid down 7 sacrifices this year. Tonight he's grounded out twice. The Blue Jays aren't really playing him to bunt, though. Gruber's playing back at third. He might be swinging on the first pitch, and then if he doesn't get it, laying it down. Swinging away, and he pops it foul. Now let's see what he does. Gruber can afford to stay back in a situation like this is because Steve is such a good fielder. Slider for a strike, and it's 0-2. So the Orioles not even entertaining the thought of a bunt, and Steve's ahead in the count. 0-2 now to Worthington.
Yeah, as methodical as he can be, you might have to conserve all the outs you have and not intentionally give up any.
Another slider. This one is low, and it's 1-2. 2-1 Blue Jays with nobody out in the 8th. Jeff McKnight is at first base. Two and two. Steve talking to himself again. Bill Ripken is on deck. Foul. The Orioles took the lead in the 6th inning as Bill Ripken doubled with 1 out, and then Steve Finley tripled him home. But the Blue Jays took the lead in the 8th inning after Fred Mcgriff led off with a single. George Bell struck out, and then John Olerud pumped a home run over the right center field fence to give Toronto a 2-1 lead. Boston leads Chicago 3-1 in the 8th inning at Fenway Park. McKnight is running, and the pitch is fouled back. Jeff had a decent jump.
I'm sure Steve no way even expected him to be running in that situation. That's the beauty of not having anything to lose, and the difficulty to deal with the ball club that can do those kinds of things.
Worthington hits one into right field for a base hit, and McKnight will go to second. Back-to-back singles by McKnight and Worthington, and it looks like Steve's going to be coming out of the game.
Boy, that's all he had to do with that kind of bat control, just slap it into right field. And now they've set themselves up into a position where maybe a bunt, maybe they could give up an out just to get somebody to third. He does not want to come out. He's about as animated a pitcher as I've seen. You know, a flare into short left center, a touched ball into short right. But this kind of anger can be positive.
Cito's going to stay with him. A little surprising. Some managers will go out there with an open mind and talk and find out what he thinks he has left. Frank Robinson has said, though, that he learned from past experiences, and when he goes out to the mound, his mind is made up. He makes the decision before he goes out there. Because there were a couple of times that he let a pitcher talk him out of taking him out of the game, and it cost him a game. Rene Gonzalez is going to run for Worthington.
He's holding on a conversation with himself now.
Well, McKnight Fernandez at second, the pinch runner Gonzalez at first, and Bill Ripken is 2 for 2 tonight. A lot of things Billy could do here. He's tied for the league lead in sacrifices, but he's also swinging the bat real well. The runners are going, the pitch is fouled back, and that's one of the things they can do is start the runners and make something happen. The White Sox failed to score in the top of the 8th inning in Boston, so it's still 3-1 Red Sox. Here in Baltimore, the Blue Jays lead 2-1, but the Orioles are threatening. Billy Ripken has doubled twice and has scored the only Oriole run. Gruber's playing up on the grass at third. Billy shows bunt, and it's a strike. 0-2.
Well, Frank gave him a shot on that first pitch, then he asked him to bunt on the second. But those breaking balls that Steve Devereaux, wicked.
See Steve saying, Kelly, watch the line. He wants him moving a couple of steps toward the line. With a bloop single into left center. Craig Worthington looped the base hit to right. Gonzalez is running at first base. The count is 1-2 to Bill Ripken. And he takes one for the club. But Steve hits Bill Ripken to load the bases. And that's going to be it for Steve. He's gone for sure now. And he's furious. Berating himself for hitting Bill Ripken.
Well, his predicament is more than he can take. I hope we get a chance to see the movement on that fastball of his that moved right in on Billy Ripken. Watch this thing scoot across the inside part. Just trail it.
Here's Steve's reaction.
He knows it's going to hit him too. He can see it. Can see it coming. Boy, that's a chance you take when you have as much movement on the ball as he does, and you want to work him inside. But he had Billy in a hole at 0-2.
So Dave Steve leaves the game after the Orioles have loaded the bases, 2 singles and a hit batsman, and Tom Henke will take over. This call to the bullpen is brought to you by C&P Telephone Yellow Pages. No other book can match it. C&P Telephone, a Bell Atlantic company.
What would you do if someone took away your Yellow Pages?
My Yellow Pages?
The C&P Telephone Yellow Pages?
You and what army? No.
People want to hold on to the book with more choices.
Hey, no. My Yellow Pages don't even think about it.
It's the book 9 out of 10 use, and when asked to choose, most people won't let go. The genuine C&P Telephone Yellow Pages. No other book can match it. A Bell Atlantic company.
Dave Steve in the dugout after hitting Bill Ripken to load the bases. He pitched well tonight. He worked 7 innings plus 3 batters in the 8th. And Tom Henke will take over. Steve allowed 1 run on 6 hits. He walked none, hit a batter, and struck out 6.
Well, you're never going to see anybody as emotionally involved in his games than Dave Steve is, but you talk about someone who's basically emotionless out on the mound, and that's Tom Henke. He just goes out there and obliterates the opposition, and that big frame he's got on the mound, and he's going to have to really do something special out there right now in the middle of that diamond because there are no outs. Bases are packed.
Henke worked 1 scoreless inning last night in the 9th inning to save Bud Black's win. So he now has 32 saves.
He's the kind of guy, Mel, that can provide that quick fix to get out of an inning.
Now the bases are loaded for Steve Finley. Nobody out. 2-1 Blue Jays. Finley tonight is struck out, grounded to second, and tripled. Greg Olson is throwing in the Oriole bullpen. Ball one. Jeff McKnight is at third, Rene Gonzalez at second, Bill Ripken at first. Hanky, a power pitcher. He throws 90 plus. Also throws a split-fingered fastball. Strike, and it's 1 ball, 1 strike. Last year, Hanky struggled earlier in the year. He gave up a couple of game-winning hits. Jimmy Williams lost confidence in him and stopped using him. And one of the first things Cito Gaston did after taking over as manager was restore him to the stopper's role, and he responded, pitching as well down the stretch as he ever has. That's hit high in the air to deep right field. Back goes Junior Felix to the warning track, and he makes the catch. Jeff McKnight tags, and he scores to tie it up. Gonzalez tagged up at second, advanced to third, so the Orioles have runners at first and third with only 1 out and a chance to take the lead. And Ben Mcdonald looking on anxiously in the background. That run is charged to Dave Steve. So Steve can't win it, but he could lose it if the Orioles can take the lead. Brady Anderson is up with runners at first and third and 1 out. The Blue Jays bring the infield in. Keep in mind, he's a good punter. Ball 1. He was the losing pitcher Friday night in Boston. His second blown save against the Red Sox this year. Called strike, and it's 2-1. 2-2 tie with 1 out in the bottom of the 8th inning. And a sacrifice fly would do the trick right here.
Well, he's got him in a position where he has all rights to expect a good pitch to hit.
Two and two.
He might get that pitch he's working on right now in the glove of his hand. Well, you either get a 90-plus heater riding around the mid-90s, you get that vicious forkball of his.
Fastball is grounded and caught by Mcgriff. Steps on the bag, and now they've got Gonzalez trapped. And Gruber tags him out.
Are you kidding me?
The Orioles run themselves out of the inning as Mcgriff handled a hot shot and stepped on the bag for the first out, threw to the plate. Gonzalez was trapped and caught in a rundown.
Who could have thought something like this was going to happen? Ball had almost went down the line. Then he almost cuts Brady's head off. Then he get him in an ultimate rundown. He's tagged out, and it looked like the Birds were in a position to go ahead in this game, and now it's tied.
The Orioles score a run to tie it up. It's 2-2 at the end of 8.
I've set the time machine ahead 40 years. Cold filtered, never heat pasteurized Miller Genuine Draft.
Don't worry, Judy. I'm sure the future will be a very cool place.
For those who discovered its real draft taste, the world is a very cool place. It works.
Georgetown basketball is on HTS. Join HTS and John Thompson's Georgetown Hoyas for exciting college basketball action. HTS is the exclusive cable home of 9 Georgetown basketball games, including Big East Conference matchups against Villanova, Pittsburgh, Seton Hall, and Boston College. If you're not watching Georgetown basketball on HTS, you don't know what you're missing.
Hi, I'm Brooks Robinson. Would you like to play some baseball with me? Earl Weaver, Dave McNally, Paul Blair, Pat Dobson. They're just a few of the Orioles from past years who will play ball with you and me in the 6th annual Orioles Fantasy Camp. It's a terrific weekend of Florida sun at the Orioles Spring Training Site in Sarasota. Mark that date on your calendar, January the 27th to February the 3rd. Call the Orioles. Make your fantasy come true.
Gonzalez, who entered the game as a pinch runner, stays in the game at third base. Gonzo was involved in that double play that ended the 8th inning. And a ball hit to Fred Mcgriff. He stepped on the bag for the second out and then threw to the plate. Gonzalez, trying to score, was caught in a rundown and tagged out to end the inning.
A totally unexpected chain of events, as would be likely to occur, just occurred last inning.
Well, Ben Mcdonald works into the 9th inning. With the score tied 2-2, he'll face Junior Felix, Mookie Wilson, and Tony Fernandez. 3 switch hitters coming up in the 9th inning. Mcdonald has allowed 2 runs on 8 hits. He's walked 3 and struck out a career-high 9.
Still have themselves positioned where either club could win. The game in Boston's not over yet.
Junior Felix has lined to third, beat out an infield hit, and struck out. Like he wanted to bunt, and it's strike 1.
That's the second time he's bluffed on the first pitch the last 2 times up to the plate. And each time after that, he's not threatened to bunt again.
They go to the 9th inning at Fenway. It's 3-1 Red Sox. A slow bouncer to Cal Ripken. A close play, but he throws him out. Moving closer and closer to 2 major league records. One for fewest errors in a season and the other for best fielding percentage. Mookie Wilson has 2 of the 4 hits, but both of them have been infield hits. Choppers off home plate that he beat out.
Let's settle for another one right here.
Ball 1. The attendance tonight is 26,913, bringing the Orioles' total attendance to 2,415,189, the second largest season total in history. 2-0 to Mookie. Called strike, and it's 2-1. The Orioles took a 1-0 lead in the 6th. John Olerud hit a 2-run homer in the 8th to put the Blue Jays up 2-1. And a sacrifice fly by Steve Finley drove in the tying run in the 8th. Check swing roller foul, and it's 2-2 to Mookie Wilson. He came to the Blue Jays in July of last year and really sparked the team. He hit .298 in 54 games. Really gave the team a lift emotionally, stole a few bases, made things happen. Foul ball. Off another one. That was a good pitch. It was right where Mickey Pendleton wanted it. A fastball low and away.
He's had some good at-bats tonight. Even though he hasn't hit the bat with much authority. That first time up there, he lined that ball into left, but after that, it's just been hunt and peck up at the plate.
Good hitter from either side of the plate. He has a little more pop left-handed. Slow bouncer. Cal Ripken will have to hurry, and the throw is in time. Fine play by Cal. It looked like an Atlantic City dealer getting rid of that ball.
Well, you almost have to be a showman to be a really good defensive player, because it often takes a kind of a circus act to turn a difficult play into an out. Bang, bang.
At Fenway Park, it's still 3-1 in favor of the Red Sox, and there's one out at the top of the 9th inning.
No.
So Boston is just 2 outs away from winning the American League East, regardless of what Toronto does. Strike one to Fernandez. Tony has walked twice and struck out twice. Did you see Fernandez quotes? He was asked if he remembered setting a fielding record last year, and he said no. He was also asked, did you remember committing only 6 errors? And he said no. Apparently didn't want to talk.
Yeah, you bet he remembered all of that.
A smash through Mcdonald's legs for a base hit. So Fernandez singles up the middle. The 9th Toronto hit, but in Boston there are now 2 outs in the top of the 9th inning, with the Red Sox ahead 3-1. So one more out, and in Boston, and Toronto will be eliminated.
And I suppose we could halt play here.
I don't think it works that way. Gruber has been up twice tonight with men in scoring position. He's left a total of 6 men on base tonight. Came up in the 3rd with a man at 1st and grounded out. Came up with the bases loaded in the 5th and grounded out. Came up with runners at 1st and 2nd in the 7th and flied to left. Strike one. Runs, 9 hits, and no errors for the Blue Jays. 2 runs, 6 hits, and 1 error for the Orioles.
Well, he scorched one to left center the last time up, though, so maybe right now, as the game has progressed in the 9th inning, is beginning to draw a bead on Ben Mcdonald.
Line shot into left field for a base hit, and Fernandez goes to second.
So he's zoned Ben in now.
And that may be a night's work for Ben Mcdonald. The fans imploring Frank Robinson to leave him in, but Frank's going to go to Greg Olson.
Well, it's not often you'll see Olson come into a tie game, but a game with this kind of meaning on it, it could.
And an update from Boston. The White Sox now have runners at 1st and 2nd with 2 outs in the 9th inning. job of pitching by young Ben Mcdonald, and he departs with the score tied 2-2. And this call to the bullpen is brought to you by C&P Telephone Yellow Pages. No other book can match it. C&P, a Bell Atlantic company.
What would you do if someone took away your Yellow Pages?
My Yellow Pages?
The C&P Telephone Yellow Pages?
You and what army? No.
People want to hold on to the book with more choices.
Hey, no. My Yellow Pages. Don't even think about it.
It's the book 9 out of 10 use, and when asked to choose, most people won't let go. The genuine C&P Telephone Yellow Pages. No other book can match it. A Bell Atlantic company.
Wilson takes over for Ben Mcdonald. Only last worked on Monday and picked up his 37th save, and with each save he adds to his club record. He's already broken the old club record of 34 set by Don Hussey. But the Orioles got another strong performance from Ben Mcdonald, who pitched shutout ball for 7 innings before John Olerud homered. He worked 8 2/3 innings. He allowed 2 runs on 10 hits, walked 3, and struck out a career-high 9.
Well, both managers taking the cream right off the top. Cito going with the Terminator Hanky, and of course Frank Robinson going with Greg Olson in this spot right here. But you can bet one thing, Greg's not going to let anything pass out there. He's got this good stuff working out for him over the last several outings out to the mound, and he's got a chore cut off from Mcgriff coming up to the plate.
And it's all over at Fenway Park in Boston. The Red Sox have defeated the White Sox 3-1 to win the American League East. So this game means nothing now as far as Toronto is concerned. They have been eliminated. The Red Sox finished with a record of 88 wins, 74 losses. And here's the final out. Ozzie Guillen hitting a fly ball to right field.
Oh! What a way to end it, huh?
Making the catch, and what a couple of weeks Bruno has had offensively and defensively with that catch to wrap up first place for the Red Sox. The Boston finishes at 88 and 74. The best Toronto can do would be to win 87. But I don't think the Blue Jays know it's over yet. To Fred Mcgriff. Well, that was a superb catch by Brunansky, because both of those runs might have scored, and it could have tied up the game.
I bet they would have.
Popped up. Shallow left field. Gonzalez going out. Cal Ripken is there, and it's Brady Anderson who makes the catch. In the 9th inning for the Blue Jays, no runs, 2 hits, and 2 more left to go to the bottom of the 9th with the score tied 2-2.
This graph shows that your car can drive better with Texaco's System 3 gasoline. In the BMW test, ordinary gasoline built up valve deposits, but System 3 actually took them away. Tank after tank, valves got cleaner and cleaner. As for performance, after 5 tanks, it gets even better.
Why do so many people go to Hardee's for breakfast? That's why. Hardee's, all kinds of good stuff. The unintelligent phone system.
Can I get customized features?
No, that's a problem.
Well, how about extra lines for the holidays?
No, problem there.
Will I be able to add on more phones?
No, it's a problem.
The intelligent phone system.
Can I get customized features?
No problem.
How about extra lines for the holidays?
No problem there.
Will I be able to add on more phones?
No problem.
With Bell Atlantic, getting a customized phone system is no problem. Call us.
Here's what happened moments ago here at Memorial Stadium. The final out from Boston. Ozigian hitting a fly ball to right field. And Tom Bernansky making that fine diving catch in the corner to end the ball game and give the Red Sox sole possession of first place. Here's the reaction of the Toronto dugout. They find out that they've been eliminated. And the bullpen reaction. Ripken leading off the ninth inning. He pops it up. Shallow center field. Mookie Wilson coming hard. And he's got it for the first out. So this game really means nothing now. It'll be the Red Sox against the Oakland A's in the American League Championship Series. The Cincinnati Reds against the Pittsburgh Pirates in the other in the National League. About time to pull the plug on this one.
This is the man who can do it.
That sums it up. Last year, the Blue Jays taking 2 out of 3 from the Orioles in the final series in Toronto to win the American League East. Strike one to Sam Horn. 2-2 tie, bottom of the ninth. Both starters turned in fine performances tonight. Dave Steve went 7 innings. He allowed 2 runs. Ben Mcdonald went 8 2/3, allowing 2 runs. And Horn strikes out.
Well, the way that Henke can pitch and the way that Olson has thrown lately, we may have just completed the first 9 innings of a real long game. Look at that split-fingered pitch right there.
And with 2 outs and the base is empty, Mickey Tettleton comes up. Finishing up a very disappointing season. Foul ball, strike one. And what does the future hold for Mick? Eligible to file for free agency. Had a great year last year, a career year with 26 home runs. With the exception of 1 streak early in the season, he never got it going this year. Got hot for about 6 weeks. Was named American League Player of the Week. Looked like he'd come out of his slump, but he went right back into it.
Well, what'll happen is if you just factor in his 2 years numbers and you're looking at 40 home runs, an average of 20 a year.
2-1.
Sobering thought, huh? Only 139 more days till spring training.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Better make those plane reservations. By the way, the winning pitcher in the Red Sox victory tonight was former Oriole Mike Boddicker.
How about that?
That should do it. There goes the ball, and there goes the season. Satisfaction for Mickey Tettleton, capping off what has been a disappointing year, but he hammers one out of here, his 15th home run of the year, and the Orioles finish the season on a winning note, beating the Blue Jays 3-2, and a big smile from the Mick. That must feel good for him.
Boy, that blast was worth a large smile. That kind of put the exclamation point on this game. I mean, this one got into orbit in a hurry.
Well, Tettleton rockets one out of here to give the Orioles the win. For the Orioles tonight, 3 runs, 7 hits, 1 error, and Blue Jays, 2 runs, 10 hits, no errors, and 12 left. Greg Olson is the winning pitcher. He's 6-5, but the Orioles got a great performance from Ben Mcdonald. Tom Hankey, who gave up the home run, takes the loss. He's now 2-4. Our Texaco star of the game tonight is Mickey Tettleton, who hit the game-winning home run, and he'll receive a $50 gift certificate for Texaco System 3 gasoline. With Texaco System 3 gasoline, after 5 tanks, it gets even better. Let's go down to Tom Davis and Mickey Tettleton.
Well, thanks, Mel. What a way to cap it off, huh?
I tell you, it's been kind of a long season, and that's a nice way to finish right there.
You know, I said to a fan sitting there in the stands, I said, watch Tettleton hit a home run to win it to cap the thing off. You know, with the frustration you've had for the last 4 or 5 months, I mean, it's got to be a satisfying way to end it.
Well, it is. I mean, this is going to be a great way to go into the winter now, you know, especially, you know, with my wife expecting her first child and now this. It's really a nice way to finish it off.
Tell us about Mcdonald tonight. He looked as strong as he's looked all season, right?
I tell you, he threw the ball exceptionally well. There was one other time where I thought he threw the ball that well, and it was up in Seattle. And he just had overpowering stuff tonight. Now, I think you got to take your hats off to the Blue Jays, too, because they battled him right down to the end. Dave Steve did a hell of a job for them, too.
You coming back next year here?
I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see what happens.
You want to come back?
I'd like to come back. I like it here in Baltimore, and you know, right now I just want to enjoy this and relax for a while.
Shilling's been waiting all year to do that. How about the contract? I mean, they're going to talk contract to you think immediately after the season?
Well, I don't know what their plans are. You know, whenever they're ready, you know, we'll sit down and we'll try to work something out.
Have you ever had a fulfilling moment with the Orioles?
Not that I can remember. I thought the crowd was real excited tonight and into this game. You know, we wanted to come out here and play good baseball. We just didn't want to hand it to Toronto.
How about Toronto losing it? Actually, tonight, you know, but the Boston win. I mean, they played decently all season long.
I think both teams did. You got to take your hats off to both teams and just, you know, wish Boston luck now.
Mickey, good luck to you. I hope you're back next year.
All right, thank you.
All right, Mickey Tettleton. Shilling's been waiting to get me all season long. Let's go back upstairs to Mel Proctor and John Lowenstein, and we'll recover and come back with some scores.
If you're searching for great oldies on the radio, the search ends here.
Extra 104, now with 10 great oldies in a row.
Extra 104 is the only Washington radio station that gives you great oldies all the time. Great oldies from the 60s, back-to-back, non-stop. So, for your favorite oldies anytime, remember, set a button on your radio to 104.1 FM. Extra 104, great oldies all the time.
If you need legal representation because of an auto accident, injury at work, divorce, bankruptcy, medical malpractice, or because you've been arrested for a crime, call me P. Paul, of course. I'm a former assistant state's attorney, and I've been practicing law in the state of Maryland for over 18 years. I have 8 convenient offices, and I will personally meet with you to discuss your case.
Call the law offices of P. Paul Kokoris today. For the area office most convenient to you, call our local or toll-free numbers.
Hi, Bob Vila for Sears, the home improvement professionals. Looking for central air conditioning? You can count on Sears. You'll get a dependable product installed right at a fair price. You know, efficiency's all important in central air conditioning. A 6-rated air conditioner costs $510 a year to run, while a Sears 12-rated air conditioner costs only $249. With a Sears 12, you could save up to $261 a year. Sears has a wide selection of quiet, dependable central air conditioners to meet your needs, and you get a warranty on parts and labor. If necessary, you can have emergency installation. And if there's ever a problem, Sears has America's largest service network. For central air and a whole lot more, count on the home improvement professionals at Sears, the most trusted name around the house.
Call 1-800-251-4422 to arrange a free in-home Sears installed air conditioning estimate.
Welcome back to the ballpark. We're waiting for some of the players to come back out here on the field as the Orioles wound up winning 3-2 over the Toronto Blue Jays with Mickey Tettleton satisfying his season with a game-winning home run. I guess next year I'll get a blazer, that's for sure, after tonight. But while we're waiting for some of them to come out, I got a couple of messages here I want to convey. Joseph Eckerberg, happy 90
birth of Laverne Pinckney. Little baby girl, Ed Dunn sent that message down. Didn't get a chance to say it earlier. Here come the Orioles back on the field to thank the fans for their support, more than 2.4 million.
Each game, and everyone reminds you about it all the time. You really want to go out and just play the game, you know, one at bat at a time, one ground ball at a time, but it seems to build over the course of the season. And I've been very aware of it for the last couple of weeks, and it just requires a little bit more concentration, and it's just a big relief that it's over.
League fielding records. They're telling me to wait a few moments here. Hold on, everybody. They want to get some more of the crowd.
Committed only 3 errors all year, while playing every game of the season at shortstop. That number is the lowest in Major League history, and what's more, it's half as many as the previous record. Cal also sets a Major League record with a .996 fielding percentage, 4 points better than ever before. Congratulations, Cal, on a magnificent Gold Glove season. Thank you.
Thank you. The recognition that the shortstop has come from the offensive side, and just to get some recognition for the defense. I work very hard at it. I'm big, I'm cumbersome at times, but I try to work hard and I try to do a good job at shortstop, and it feels really, really good.
You think you're finally going to get a Gold Glove now?
I don't know. I mean, I'm very satisfied. I'm very proud of the accomplishments this year. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, I'm not going to worry about it.
How about the way this club finished up? How do you feel about that?
Well, it took a lot of heart, and everybody went out. It would have been easy to fold in the month of September, but it took a lot of heart for everybody to dig down deep inside themselves and say, come on, let's go. We put it together now. You know, we'll prove to ourselves that we can play with Boston and Toronto, and that has a good that might have a good carryover factor for next year.
You were named the most valuable Oriole by the media here for the 1990 season. What does it mean to you?
Well, it's always special when you're recognized for a good job. It hasn't been one of my best seasons. Actually, it's been one of the seasons that I've struggled the most. I was almost at a bottom-out level in July, but it's also been one of the most gratifying seasons to come back from that and still finish up pretty strong.
I think one thing that's got to be an attribute to you that you really held your frustration inwardly at times when you could have, sort of like slung a bat occasionally or done something like that and taken some of the temper right out on the field.
Well, this game can be very emotional, and you play it every single day. If you can control your emotions, you're going to have a little bit more success. I try to do it. I'm not perfect at it, but at times I want to scream and yell and throw and have a temper tantrum, but I'm able to control that, and I think it's helped me in the long run.
1990 most valuable Orioles set a couple of Major League fielding records. Cal Ripken, our thanks to him, and we're going to be back with more in just a moment here on Home Team Sports.
create something. Tough shot. Oh! Finley racing back to the warning track, to the wall, and he's got it! Brooks and Dummy.
He's able to get that good.
HTS has over 75 exclusive main events in January, with live coverage of the NHL and Capitals hockey, college basketball, the Senior Professional Baseball Association, Bullets basketball, and much more. Capitals action continues when the Caps face off against the New Jersey Devils, Philadelphia Flyers, and New York Islanders.
Through traffic.
Tune in for an exciting month of NBA coverage when the Bullets take on the Boston Celtics, Atlanta Hawks, Dallas Mavericks, and New York Knicks. College basketball continues, featuring teams from the CAA, Sun Belt, Atlantic 10, Big 8, and Pac-10 conferences. And don't miss the 1991 Orioles update premiering January 15th. If you're not watching HDS, you don't know what you're missing.
Going to make it short and sweet. Final time. Welcome back to the ballpark. The pie was whipped cream, and it was not shaving cream. Tasted very good. Kurt Schilling nailed me, and I think he's been plotting all season long to do the thing. Our thanks to Cal Ripken, also to Mickey Tettleton, and to all the Orioles for a fun year here in Baltimore. The Orioles winning 3-2, and it's been a real pleasure working here for the last 7 years. And let's go back upstairs to one of the top play-by-play guys in the country, Mel Proctor. Mel.
All right, Pie Face, thank you. It was a terrific way to end the night. Mickey Tettleton with a home run, the Orioles winning, and the Orioles fans showing why they're probably the best in baseball.
As exhilarating and stirring a game as you'll see all season long, and the fans prove once again that they're the best in baseball right here. But the Orioles really put on a fantastic finish to this season in nailing the Blue Jays twice.
Cal Ripken set 2 Major League fielding marks tonight, one for fewest errors in a season, another for best fielding percentage. He has now set or tied 11 Major League or American League marks this year in various categories.
It doesn't surprise me because he's all baseball. He eats it, he sleeps it, he talks it, and he's the best at that position to come along in a long time. And it's just a matter of time before he has to make his reservations for Cooperstown.
Well, you and I have had a ball again this year. Thanks for your help.
Thank you, Mel. Enjoyed it.
Well, we thank all of you for being with us during the 1990 season. We look ahead to next year and hopefully better things to come on Home Team Sports and for the Orioles. That'll do it for this year. Thanks for being with us, everybody. Again, our final score tonight is the Orioles 3 and the Toronto Blue Jays 2. Tonight's coverage of Orioles baseball has been brought to you by Subaru. We build our reputation by building a better car.